Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Night Owl, a show that we do twice a week where we talk about all the latest in pop culture news, TV and movie reviews, gaming news, and just the general conversations of the day. For those who don't know me, I'm Price of Reason, and today we have with us a guest co host, which is Istophobos, friend of the channel, who steps in from time to time. The professor is on the road, he's traveling, and Istophobos was kind enough last time to step in and do it this time as well. And really happy to have you here. How's it going, man?
Oh, it's going pretty good. Yeah, the professor is at Epic Universe having a blast, I hope. I'm so jealous. He's
I
hitting
wish I
Super
was there.
Mario Land. Yeah, doing How to Train Your Dragon. He's drinking butterbeer and he's
We
warm.
it should be the opposite. We should be there and he should be here.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding, but you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Sort of kidding.
but I'm very happy for him and I'm glad, he's going to the cool park because,
For sure. For yeah, I want to check that out. It seems like it's a cool thing. You know, as a kid growing up, I was at Disney World, Disneyland a number of times, and definitely an experience. Haven't been there in either of them in many years, many years. But the fact that there is a Universal Epic one sounds interesting to me. I would want to see what that's like.
I got to tell you, with Disney, it was never well, it was cheap in the 70s. I think it was like $6 to get in. But the last time I was there, the tickets were well over 100, but you still felt like you got a lot for your money. They still had the Disney difference, like they treated the guests like royalty, but now, man, it just seems like they treat you like a sucker. And even little detail, like the trash cans used to be, engraved and fancy looking. And now they're just like regular bins and there's trash all over them. Like it is not the same place. I think if you went, you would be disappointed like crazy.
I'm sure. You know, I haven't been in many years. When I went, it was more of an experience, and like you said, I think that as a kid, I'm pretty sure that we didn't pay the kind of money that's being demanded today. They have gotten so greedy with that park and with their prices, and I think that greedy beyond anything reasonable. But that's just
Yeah.
my personal opinion. I mean, it's fine. People can decide where to spend their money, but it didn't used to be that like you take your family to Disney World or Disneyland, and we're talking about so many thousands of dollars that you have to put aside where you have to kind of wonder if it's even worth it. You know what I'm saying? Like at those numbers, you're already thinking to yourself, maybe I can get a car. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
what's so good about going and taking going around and seeing some Mickey Mouse thing for a few days? I saw it as a kid; it was great and everything, but not greater than a car. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Like, there's
Oh,
some people they're like, oh, we'll spend 10 to 20 grand on this trip. What are you're spending 10 to 20 grand on this? Like, I don't know. It doesn't seem right to me. I
y-
guess if like you have so many millions and you're just kind of spreading your cash around and you don't give a shit about anything, sorry, Sean, it is you can do that. But generally speaking, the prices are really high, I think.
well, I think that's what they're going for. They're going for the wealthy clientele and the people without kids that can drop an extra 2 grand on the skip a line pass where it's no longer really something that achievable for people with families to go. I think I went about 15 years ago with my youngest son and dropped about 3 grand over the course of several days. The last time I went, it cost 3 times that. And we felt like we got so much less. So,
Yeah, yeah, I completely understand.
yeah, that was a lot of Bitcoin I could have got with that trip.
I understand. Well, in any case, it is what it is. I don't. Why do we mention Disneyland? Oh, because he said he was in Epic Universe.
Yeah, yeah.
Kind of went on a detour. Yeah.
Now, I know it's the holidays, right? And we want to be like cheery, but there are a couple of people that we should say goodbye to. I don't know if that's
Yeah, that's
um
fine. I think that if you know who they are, tell me right now, because
yeah, well, President John F. Kennedy's granddaughter, Tatiana Schosberg, 35 years old, passed away. She had a type of accelerated leukemia. She was diagnosed.
I'm so sorry to hear that. I had no idea.
Yeah, I think it was a few years ago, maybe 2024. I'm not sure. There is a little creepy thing about Joe Biden's ex-husband, his new
Joe
wife.
Biden's ex-husband?
Sorry, Joe Biden's. No, yes, Jill. Joe
Jill. Oh,
Biden, the guy she was
Dr.
married to
Biden.
before Joe,
Okay.
he got remarried to a woman, and there was a domestic incident call. And when they arrived at the house, she was no longer breathing. So
Oh.
that's maybe some interesting.
Are
It,
you saying that Dr. Jill was married to a bad person?
I'm saying it's looking like there was some malfeasance, and maybe that's exactly right. Although the details are sketchy. So,
I mean, to be fair, I will say this, that if nothing else, at least, you know, I can't pin on her what, like, okay, how am I gonna explain this? I have nothing especially good to say about her, but I can't pin this on her. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's
oh
not
yeah,
something
yeah.
I can't pin this on her. At least, maybe that's why she. Nothing I say is gonna sound good here.
No,
Maybe that's why she ended that marriage and went to one where there's a guy who doesn't know what's going on.
well, it's the only reason that we're probably hearing about it. Otherwise, it would just be a normal. But yeah, the wife of Jill Biden's ex husband was found dead inside their Delaware home after a domestic dispute call. So yes, this none of this like falls on the Bidens. This was just sort of an interesting, newsworthy tidbit. Her name was Linda Stevenson, and she was found dead on the living room floor. Um, so hell of a way to go into New Year's. That's wow. And then of course, Isaiah Whitlock Jr., actor of stage and screen. Everybody will recognize him, even if they don't know him offhand. I guess he died today too.
He was in The Wire as
Oh
the
yeah,
shady senator, correct?
yeah, yeah, yeah. You know what's funny? I mean, he was in so many things, but when I think about him, one of his most standout performances, he did a guest spot on Elementary where he took a diner hostage because he wanted Sherlock to like find out who kidnapped his daughter, and his performance was just fantastic. So, but yeah, he was in I think he was in Cocaine Bear. He's been in so many television series, and yes, he was in The Wire, which is a fantastic show. He did a voice in BoJack Horseman. He was in She's Gotta Have It. The Mist, the TV show, not the movie. Um,
Let's see if we can pull up a picture of him just so people get the thing.
okay. Yeah, there's one in your DMs I think I sent you, right?
Yeah, hold on. So I'll share this. Let's see if we can share it.
Okay. His first role was an extra in the Christmas Carol movie in 1981, and his second role was on Cagney and Lacey.
He was a veteran actor that you'd see in a lot of stuff, and yeah, he was a good actor. So
Yeah, yeah. He
definitely sad.
he has well over 100 credits on his thing, and that's huge for like a character actor kind of.
Right. I mean, sometimes you have a guy that, like, you've seen him in a lot of stuff, and you don't necessarily remember every role and everything, but he's been around for a long time, doing a lot of character actor roles, and I think that's a good way to describe this guy.
Um, One of my first web pages that I put up was that guy with that thing, which was sort of a tribute to the most recognizable character actors.
I see.
I think it was on GeoCities, which tells you how how old it was.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Anyhow, so that was one guy. What else? We had anybody else?
Um, Now there what the I think did we cover the guitarist for The Cure?
No, I did read about that. What
Yeah.
happened to that guy? I don't even know.
Um, I don't, I think, he natural causes, maybe Perry Bamonte.
Hey, Tex, how's it going?
He was 65. Yeah, here's the thing. It just says short illness, but he was recovering from a cancer a few years ago, and he'd had some sort of chronic, health problems. So,
I see.
right, I think he actually recovered, um, from his previous cancer, but a big shocker, there were, I think, some substance issues before we went through all that, but now it just says, after a short illness, he was, found, dead at his home, so
Well, I can tell you because, and I think you can too. We both have met our fair share of these type of people, musicians, some more known than others, but it's a lifestyle that if you're not very careful can really take its toll on you health wise. I mean, I assume especially if you're in a popular band, there's kind of probably years that you're doing wild stuff and living like the high life quite literally, and you're on top of the world, but that does come at a price. Sometimes you have lucky ones like Keith Richards that, I don't know, he, whatever happens to Keith Richards, he has managed to somehow, even Mick Jagger too, they've lived pretty wild lifestyles and they're both doing fine, but and they're here, you know what I'm saying? But there's a lot of people that aren't as fortunate, that aren't as lucky, aren't as fortunate, and once you enter that kind of lifestyle, it's always a risk.
yeah, one of my, BB King lived a very long life, and he was touring with on an almost an impossible schedule, over 250 tour dates a year up until the time he passed. And one of my personal favorites, Buddy Guy, he's still going strong. I think the life expectancy of a blues man used to be about 35 years. So, man, those guys. Uh, but yeah, the candle that burns twice as bright burns for half as long, and some of those guys are living pretty hard. But I do like The Cure. It wasn't my favorite. I really did appreciate their music, and I would go through phases. Um, but I definitely recognize they had some excellent musicianship there, and I always want to
Yeah, no.
salute a good musician.
Yeah, no. I mean, again, The Cure isn't a band that I listen to every second, but I will say that it's a good band. I mean, I respect The Cure. I just it's not really something I don't dislike them. There's some songs that I like of theirs too. Like, they're cool. I don't hate them or anything. It's just not the kind that I would listen to all day personally.
Yeah,
But
when Robert Smith showed up on South Park, I think I almost laughed myself half to death. Do you remember that episode? I think it
that I
was,
actually thought that he did great on that episode. I
yeah,
thought it was a nice cameo, yeah.
yeah, it was the Becca Streisand one, I think. He
It was
was
funny.
awesome.
It was so random that they called him, and I love the fact that he cooperated and, like, he did the episode, probably thinking this is the most bizarre thing, but he probably liked it, and, yeah, back in the early days, the earlier seasons of South Park, from time to time, very rarely, I'm saying like maybe 5 times they called a celebrity and they're like, "Do you wanna be on here?" But when they did, it was like special and, it's so rare. At some point, they just decided they don't wanna do that anymore. They had him, they had, Jennifer Aniston, they had those 2 guys, they had Jennifer Aniston, they had him. I'm trying to think, uh, in South Park, the movie, George Clooney has like a very brief, something
Oh,
that he
yeah,
says,
yeah.
and in an episode, he played like a dog where he does like woof woof. I think like Jay Leno plays like a monkey or something. I don't know what they had. Basically, they were so hot at that time, and you had celebrities lined up just like itching to be on that show, and I feel like, when it comes to Clooney and Jay Leno, they weren't even that enthusiastic. They're like, "You wanna be on the show, you can bark like a dog," or something. Whereas, like, Jennifer Aniston, I I'm just guessing that at least one of those guys probably thought, "When Jennifer Aniston doesn't look bad, maybe we can invite her here to hang out with us and do some voices." Probably that was the conversation that happened, but now they don't even do that anymore.
No, I think that they jumped the shark, plenty a while ago, but I
They
still
did.
appreciate, some of the laughs they gave me.
I
Um,
do. They were such a good show, but recently, like, they really kind of fell off a cliff. So they had Jennifer Aniston, I remember they had, Robert Smith from The Cure, and they had Radiohead, and not a lot more voices. Like, that was, like, the main things. Like, if you think of all the voices, don't have a ton other stuff. They had Isaac Hayes as Chef, but he was part of the cast, and then he, had issues and all that other stuff.
yes,
But,
a little bit of a disagreement.
yeah, I understand though. His son has talked enough time over the years and explained that that guy, had some medical issues, and without getting too much into this, specific organization was not happy with certain things and kind of spoke on his behalf. Whereas his son later said that he wasn't, he wasn't really sharp enough to be speaking on his own behalf, so other people were sort of speaking for him, and, his son seemed to feel it was very unfortunate how all of that played out because he really did like being on South Park, and I'm sure he did. It was a great role for him.
Yeah, wasn't Ozzy Osbourne was on there too, wasn't he? And, the hot chick from Species early on,
I didn't remember that Ozzy Osbourne was on it. I'm not saying it's not possible. I think they did the Ozzy Osbourne voice, but I could be wrong. Yaitis says there's a strike at Casa Bonita. Well, I know the guys from South Park, they went and they kind of renovated the Casa Bonita. I didn't know if there was a strike there, but yeah.
oh, on the episode Chef Aid, they had a ton of, musician Joe Strummer, Ozzy, Ween,
But I don't
Primus.
think it's the real people. I think it's like phonies. I think they did the
No,
voices, no?
no, 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 they're credited as actually them. Like, I don't know if that's a trick, but
No,
they
no,
are.
no. Maybe you're right. Maybe it's true. I haven't watched that one in a long time. I don't understand what the strike at Casa Bonita is. I know they tried to save it, so if there's a strike, that's really weird. Uh,
Oh, and, Richard Belzer was on, the Tooth Fairy episode,
let's see for a second. Now I'm curious.
and they had Cheech and Chong. Uh,
Uh,
the
South Park creators clash with performers at their Colorado restaurant.
oh,
Now, I don't really know what this is all about, but I will tell you this, that they saved that place. That place was going to fall apart. They saved it and invested a lot of money in it. They're very rich, so I assume that they could lose money if they wanted to, but without what they did, you wouldn't even have this place. So I don't know what they're all ganging up on them. And I know they're annoying. Like I'm separating the fact that like in more recent times, I think their show has gone off a cliff. But I'm saying when it comes to creating jobs and saving jobs and things like that, they invested a lot of money in this place. I don't know what clash they have, but I think it would be a shame for a lot of people here if this thing shut down because it does give jobs to people in that area.
yeah, and I'm not sure it does. They are claiming maybe some of the performers had unsafe working conditions. I have very mixed feelings about unions. I do feel there are definitely jobs where they're warranted, but there are also places, where I don't think they belong at all, and ultimately, a union always seems to end up serving itself rather than its members, and, it creates corruption and all sorts of things. So,
I see.
just like go
Yeah,
ahead.
no, I agree. I also see that Kevin Costner has some problems with that Horizon. Those Horizon movies, they cost a lot of money to make. I think that he did everything like in the dumbest way possible, and he also it's not him alone. It's like, contributing factor, him and like Taylor Sheridan together. But between all of their bullshit, they ran that show off a cliff also. Yellowstone, like the final season is so awful, and that they just wake up and they say, "Oh, he's dead." It's so annoying, man. It
Yeah.
is so disappointing. And it's disappointing in a way that I'm not very forgiving. Especially looking at it now, not very forgiving towards Costner or towards Sheridan. I
Oh,
think that they both made a huge error here. I understand that they both have a side to this story, and they can both say whatever they say. But at the end of the day, I think that they're both super annoying, and they handled it in the poorest and most selfish and greedy way, both of them, that only hurt people that were actually watching their show. That I never like it when people take their viewers for granted, and I really think that this was one of those situations. So in my book, they both like lost a lot of points, if you
Yeah,
ask me.
absolutely. Like, yeah, I get that you're working and you're working hard, but when you put something out there and it really attracts an audience, you should be more gracious to your viewers and understand that without them, you got nothing. And the last season of that show really crashed and hard, and partly, because those guys couldn't get along. There's some ego issues. Um, but the best entertainers, the best artists are the ones that never forget, well, without their fans, they're nobody. Without their audience, they're performing to an empty room. And I really think Costner lost sight of that. I understand he had a project that was near and dear to him. He's done that a few times in his career, Waterworld, The
No, but
Postman,
I'll
but
tell you, you know what annoys me about all of it, and maybe you could say it's him doing business and all that other stuff. But here's what I believe happened. And again, there's a lot of speculation. I'm not saying that everybody knows everything 100%, but I said something once, and some people dismissed it and made it seem like I'm stupid. But later, I read things, and they kind of supported what I said, even without me knowing. Um, Basically, I didn't even know this when I said it, but what I said was is that Kevin Costner was on that Yellowstone show, and suddenly he felt to himself, I'm the boss. I'm Kevin Costner." Now he would come to Taylor Sheridan and be like, "Hey, why don't we try this idea? Why don't we try that idea?" And I think that Taylor Sheridan, and as the show was growing and everything, just said, "Listen, we're doing this the way I want to do it. Like, don't. Thank you for your tips, but like, I don't really give a shit." So that was one thing that started. Maybe these guys, Kevin Costner had a big ego and he wanted to weigh in, and Taylor Sheridan has a big ego. I'm sure there's an ego situation here. But another thing that happened is that they actually, uh, how do I describe? Okay, this is according to Costner. He at some point went to Taylor Sheridan and supposedly came up with an idea that they could do cool spin-offs and like, maybe do something in other time periods and things like that. Now, I don't know if Taylor Sheridan thought of this on his own or Kevin Costner said something and it made Taylor Sheridan be interested in it. The one thing I'll tell you is, and this surprises me, but it surprises me that Kevin Costner's managers and agents didn't handle this differently. But all the spin-offs from Yellowstone, uh, Kevin Costner doesn't get an executive producer credit.
okay.
Now, if I had to guess why that is, I would think that perhaps initially when he was on the show, he thought that he would only be there a limited time. First of all, maybe he didn't believe much in the show. Two, maybe he thought, I'll do this, I'll collect some checks, and I'll go. I don't think that Kevin Costner imagined that it would be as popular as it became. And maybe instead of getting an executive producer credit, which any manager and agent, and that I can say with my own experience, is supposed to fight for, is that he has an executive producer credit, which isn't a stretch. The man has Academy Awards. He's not some like spring chicken, a guy that joins your show. You're doing this kind of show and you have Kevin Costner. Having him have an executive producer credit, not only on the show, but then on any spinoff, makes sense. Now, I believe that on the regular Yellowstone, he does have an executive producer credit on the regular show, but he didn't have any on the spinoffs. Are you with me?
Yep.
And I tend to think that this is something that like his management and his agents fumbled, which is very odd because it's very, very odd. Any normal agent with a guy who's an Academy Award winner says, "Hey, you're launching this thing, it could be a franchise." Any other spin-off or show, he's an executive producer. If I had to gamble, and this is just again using my experience and just an instinct, what may have happened is that he had two options. Either he could get like a huge salary. They're like, we want $1 million an episode. And maybe once he demanded whatever he demanded per episode, maybe the production said, okay, and the network, whatever, they said, okay, we'll give him this amount that he wants and he'll be an executive producer on this show. But if he's going to get that kind of money and he doesn't even know how long he can commit to this series, maybe initially said he may only be there a season, he wasn't sure. So they're like, we're not making him an executive producer on the whole franchise. If there's other spin-offs and stuff, he's just not going to get anything. He'll get this big money now. He'll get an executive producer for credit for Yellowstone, and that's it. And probably in their eyes, between him and his agents and his business people, they thought, who gives it? This is some show about cowboys. Like
Yeah.
it's going to be some shit that 5 people are going to watch. Let's just collect the money and run. That's probably what he thought to himself. But then what happens? The couve hits and all that stuff. It becomes suddenly also people are sitting at home. Suddenly it becomes the number one show that everybody is watching. And I feel like, it's one of those situations that the show certainly became a victim of its own success. It You had stars on the show starting brands and annoying the creator. Taylor Sheridan becoming nitpicky and suing the people in the cast that are like launching their own beer, and they're like, "Oh, you made a beer that looks like it's part of the Yellowstone thing." A bunch of lawyers and people bickering. That's never good. When you have like a hit show and all you see is like people bickering and arguing and cast members that are not talking to each other and all suing each other with the creator, this is all a really bad look. And this, this is on Taylor Sheridan too. He seems like a difficult guy. And I feel like, part of whatever problems arose here was because of him. Part of it is because some of these people were so surprised by this almost overnight unexpected juggernaut success, which is something that they never thought of in the earlier seasons, that all the success went to all the head of these people anyways. So it became a huge issue. But what I will say is this: Kevin Costner understood that the thing had become really, really big. And maybe he wanted to head it off at the pass. But he's like, yeah, if there's spin-offs, I have some ideas, maybe trying to still get into the deal. Do you get what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Like, oh, like I brought you the idea. I can be the executive producer. We can work on it together. Blah blah blah. And Taylor Sheridan probably said to himself, and I'm not saying either of them are good here. Maybe there was a way to work it out and that everybody's happy. But Taylor Sheridan probably said, "Fuck that guy." Sorry, Sean. He got the money that he got. He got the credit that he got. He's not an executive producer on the other shows, and screw him. I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want. So at this point, I think that Kevin Costner got annoyed because he has a big ego too. So his ideas aren't being paid attention to. He's not getting that executive producer credit on the other spin-offs. And he said, "Oh, Taylor Sheridan thinks he can do westerns and stuff like that. I won an Oscar. I have Oscars in my closet. Who the fuck does this guy think he is? I'll show him what it means to do a western." And then he goes and puts together this thing. He's like, "Oh, my whole life I've dreamed of this project." Yeah, he's dreamed of his project, but without Yellowstone and whatever happened with that, he wouldn't have done anything with that project. That project would have been sitting on some shelf. Nothing would have happened to it. His main catalyst was he wanted to show he could do it. And probably instead of making a series, he probably had a non compete that he couldn't immediately go and make a series like this for another network, especially not simultaneously. So he's like, how do I do something clever? It's not a series, it's a series of movies. It's motion pictures, because probably in his contract, the clause was he can do motion pictures that are maybe westerns, but he can't do like a show or something like that. Because that happens sometimes. I've been
Yeah,
involved
yeah.
in deals where you're like, you can't do another show like this for 24 months, or for a year after you end this, you can't do this, you can't do that. There are restrictions. Nobody's going to pay you like $1 million an episode and just say, sure, yeah, do whatever the fuck you want. You know what I'm saying? Sorry,
Yeah,
Sean.
it
So,
look yeah, it looks like the rift between him and Sheridan, developed pretty early on in the show, to the point when he was considering the spinoffs, Sheridan actually created separate independent production agencies to manage those spinoffs. So Costner really had no, direct, ties to, the production.
yeah, yeah, I understand exactly what happened. And all I know is this: they found a way, however they did it, is that there's spin-offs and he's not involved. And once they did spin-offs and he wasn't involved, I feel like that's why those movies came about.
Ah,
People can sell me whatever bullshit stories they want. That's what I think like triggered this whole thing. And he thought to himself, I'll do these 4 movies. It'll be so great. And like people love the show, so they're going to love these movies. A lot of overconfidence. He put his own money, some of it into it too. A lot of very stupid decisions. If you ask me what I think he should have done, even with everything that Taylor Sheridan was dragging his feet until he gave another season, another this, another that, they should have made a 5th and final season, finished it up, wrapped it up, thought of the fans instead of suing each other, all these people, instead of all the bickering and the disputes. And that's also the cast and Taylor Sheridan. Instead of all the jerk off stuff that they did, they should have done one season that everybody gives their all to, do a good season. After that, there would have been offers piling up on Kevin Costner's desk. I think that after that, if he would have said, "I want to do a new series now where I'm like a cowboy," he would have gotten whatever deal he wants. He could have been the big boss with no Taylor Sheridan. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, I
Yeah,
think that at that point he walks out and says, "I have some ideas." Somebody would have signed that deal.
yeah, I think you're right. I think these movies existed to try to get back at Sheridan. I do. I think it was a ego clash between two, uh, very strong individuals in their fields, but they forgot the most important part of their business, which is their audience. And as a result, the last season of Yellowstone really shit the bed.
Oh, it was awful. It was practically unwatchable. Lawyer says price on the scene. Oh, and that's a good reference. Price of reason on the scene. Great theory of probably what went down. I'll tell you what. And again, I have some. This is some things I have experience with, some things I don't have experience with. But this is something that I have had experience with. I want to clarify, not with the likes of Kevin Costner. It's not like the fact that I've been involved in deals where I've, been privy to that kind of information, it wasn't the type of thing where like me and Kevin Costner are sitting and doing it. I guess what I'm saying is that in the grand scheme of things, I'm not the biggest fish. You know what I mean?
Uh, yeah, but you know what? This show would never have hit as big, I think, without Costner. He was really magnificent in it. But at the same time, Costner would have never had a resurgence in his career without this show. They really showed a lack of gratitude and appreciation for what they did for each other, which is a shame.
There's people that I've worked with, it's happened in my life that I've worked with people who I thought were difficult people, but there was still a lot of good stuff that came about me working with them. And there were times that I would generally not see eye to eye with them, and you can get annoyed and people have egos, but I was always able to step back and think, well, this is a good situation. And yeah, sometimes there will be disagreements and sometimes people have their egos. But like you said, at the end of the day, Kevin Costner was kind of like, not hot property. He really like his whole thing really cooled. He wasn't like, at the forefront of anything. This show like brought him back into like he's number 1. You know what I mean? There
Oh, yeah,
wasn't this
yeah.
feeling that he's like at the top of his game, like on a show that's like number 1, where he's like the undeniable thing that holds that show together. It's his like domain. He's Kevin Costner. You couldn't have like hoped for a better thing. And most people would just be like, great. But somebody like him was like, wait a minute, I'm the big star. Like, eh, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, he was, for all intents and purposes, retired. You would hear his name, some activist cause thing here and there, but he was definitely almost completely off everyone's radar. And then he exploded with this show, and rightly so. The guy, he's still, he's got a lot of charisma for his age. He does great in the whole cowboy thing. Like I said, I think they really benefited from each other. But that's what happens when people think they're the only reason for their success, and they don't see the big picture, and they don't give credit to other people. Movies and television are a collaborative effort, and no one succeeds solely on their own.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's
So
just a shame because they really, because they had to do what they did, it really ruined the end of the show. And you're right, they're both
and
responsible for it.
instead of it going down as this like amazing show, like that'll go down in one of those kind of things that everybody respects and appreciates, this is going to be some like shitty show that like I don't know. It had maybe three good seasons, genuinely good seasons. A fourth one that was already wobbly to begin with, because there was problems behind the scenes then, and a fifth one which was a complete and utter disaster.
And I bet Horizon, because of the way the first movie was, I bet it was originally a TV show. I think you're exactly right about that. Because essentially, it's four movies, 3 hours long. That's 12 hours. That would have been 12 episodes. I think this did start out as a TV show. It's kind of like trying to do a Deadwood thing.
Yeah. And just an example for how a star gets to be an executive producer on everything. Look at somebody like Mark Harmon. Mark Harmon, if you see any show, if I'm not mistaken, unless maybe after he left that ended, but as long as he was on the regular NCIS and they did another spinoff, he's an executive producer on the spinoff. And I assume that at some point, early on when the show was doing well and maybe they renewed some agreements and the show like had the highest ratings on CBS and all that stuff for many years, probably at some kind of renegotiation stage, his management and agents said, you want him to sign this contract, you want him to be on NCIS, you don't want him to leave the show. Well, we got to make sure that he's an executive producer on any spinoff. Now, once you're an executive producer on any spinoff, just so you understand, because maybe people don't know, you don't have to do anything, and there's some kind of percentage that you're getting, both of like of the budget. A lot of times, let's say it could be something where a few percent of the budget belong to him. Now, what does that mean? If let's say it cost, let's say $1 million an episode. I think it maybe costs more at this point, but let's just say NCIS costs like $1 million per episode to make $2 million, whatever it is. That means that Mark Harmon would get something like, and I'm talking about the spin-offs now. Could be a spin-off or whatever it is. He'd probably get, it's not uncommon for him to get like 1 or 2% from the budget. So if NCIS New Orleans or something like that, they say, okay, we have like $2 million here. Well, think 1 to 2% of that, and Mark Harmon probably just makes that money, not even doing anything. He just gets the check.
Yeah, and it gives him it encourages people, to be on board for the success of the new shows. He might do some publicity. He might, chat up the new show when they're talking. Like everybody has a little bit of skin in the game. So even though you don't have to do anything, you're encouraged to do something to facilitate the success. And in case you're wondering why some movies are so expensive, look at the list of the 35 executive producers on the darn thing when the credits start roll, and that'll give you some idea of why the thing costs so much money.
For sure. Yeah, no, it's there's a lot of money in these things and these executives get a lot of money. And I do feel, listen, I'm sure that Kevin Costner is not like hungry for bread. It's not like he doesn't have any money, but I probably feel like, even as a matter of principle and ego, I don't think he managed that deal well. And
Yeah,
that's another problem. He also, if he would have thought that this thing would be this juggernaut success, he would have also said, "Well, I wanna have kind of say creatively in what happens." You know what I mean? Like, I want this, I want that, but it all didn't happen, so he got stuck.
well, that's the
And
problem. He wanted those things afterwards, and that's when the lawyers came in.
right, that's what nobody is saying, that in my
Yeah,
opinion, he
yeah.
didn't think this thing would be the success that it was, and once it was, he regretted, taking the money instead of taking a different type of deal. But that's just my interpretation. At the same time, other people could say, "Man, 1 million or 1.8 million an episode." They gave him a shit ton of money to do this each episode. You know what I mean? Like they gave him real money. Imagine every time you do an episode, you're getting like $2 million. It's like or 1 million and something dollars. It's a dream. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, I can't even. Listen, we got a super chat from the dead man over
Oh,
on the YouTube side.
oh, good. Let me see what's going on with that. Okay, dead man. I'm gonna share it right now. It says Happy New Year, but I'm gonna show everybody what he did. Give me a second. Thank you for bringing that to my attention.
Absolutely. That's one of
And
the
then,
co-hosts' job.
so the dead man, Happy New Year. Happy New Year, man. Thank you. Thank you for the 199 super chat. Thank you for all your support of my channel. I always appreciate it. Uh, the dead man is a good man. He does his own Star Trek thing on his channel. And if you ever get a chance, you should check out what he's doing on his channel. You can see the handle right here. So there's that, and then, yeah, I don't know how we got to this whole Kevin Costner thing, uh, but we got here. It was rather insightful. I think I gave pretty good analysis.
Oh, and we got another one. Looks like it's directed at me, although I have no idea what he's talking about.
Uh, hold on. Let's see what happens.
But I'll let the dead man know I bear absolutely no hard feelings and only good thoughts when I when I think of your screen name. I'm sure we get in little back and forth about all sorts of trivial stuff, but
So it says Istrophobos. I think he meant Istophobos. I want you to know that just because I may disagree with you doesn't mean that there's any hate or bad feelings. That's fine. There's a lot of times people don't agree with each other here. There's
yeah,
people that I stream with that I don't agree with, and there's people in the chat that I don't agree with. I don't mind, just so you know, I don't mind if people don't agree with me or if I don't agree with them. Sometimes there's just something where people have different opinions and they can agree to disagree. I think that you know, if as long as the other person is respectful, even if, we're not agreeing on something, I don't have an issue with that. It's that if it becomes like a disrespectful dialogue, that's where I have more issues.
yeah. The dead man's one of my favorite guys in the chat. I think there was something on the Star Trek stream earlier today over at Trev's. We just had a disagreement about some aircraft carriers, aviation stuff. It wasn't important, and absolutely no hard feelings whatsoever, man.
Yeah, I didn't think so. You don't seem like the kind of guy that would have the hard feelings. So
No, I get a little tweaked when I see some of the Twitter stuff designed to boil your blood, but I also realize that, it's not worth getting bent out of shape over, man. You don't want to let people live in your head rent free over that kind of stuff.
I see.
If you're in my head, I'm going to be charging rent.
All right. Well, we went over some of that stuff, and now hopefully I explained well the whole NCIS thing. It's something
Yeah.
whatever I just told you now, something that I haven't seen in any newspaper, in any kind of media or anything. They never explain it the way I explain it, and I'm relatively sure that it all has something to do with it. At the end, with all due respect, there's a lot of ego, whatever, but there's also like there is some money involved here. There's it's money and prestige amongst egos, and I could see how it all went down. By the way, I don't know if I ever told you this. I once met somebody from a company. I think are they called 101 Studios or something like that. I met somebody from that company, and they were basically the people that make that Yellowstone show. It was the Harvey W. company, but
Ah,
without Harvey W.
yep.
Once Harvey W got into trouble, they basically rebranded, pushed him out, and whatever was that company transformed into a new entity called 101 Studios, where the people that were involved in the day to day of running that company kind of branched off and just did everything they were doing without him. Do you get what I mean?
Oh, yeah. I mean, because it wasn't just that guy, man. It was a huge organization with lots of moving pieces. They weren't just gonna wrap it up. I
Right, I
know.
mean, there were productions, there were all this stuff going on, and, like, relatively speaking, considering the mess that they had to deal with, I think that they handled it rather well, and I met somebody at an event, and they were telling me that their company is gonna be doing, something with, like, I didn't know that it was Kevin Costner even. They said, "Oh," like, something about they said the name Taylor Sheridan, which meant very little to me. I think I'd known him because I saw the movie, Hell and High Water,
Water, yeah.
which I like that movie actually. So they said something and they're like, "Well, we're doing like a Western show." And I thought to myself, who's doing a Western? Like a cowboy? What the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, I have to admit, there aren't many occasions that I'm 100% wrong. But when they mentioned that to me, I thought to myself, like, yeah, good luck with that, And the truth is, it would have been good luck with that if not for the Couve. I think the Couve was the game changer with that show. Like, it needed to have the Couve for the show to really take off. But at
Yeah.
that moment, when I heard that there are going to be some cowboys or on a ranch, I don't know. Somebody was saying something, I was half listening to it, and I thought to myself, who's doing this now? You know what I mean? Sounded like I thought to myself, man, like without Harvey, they're really lost when it comes to choosing their projects, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, they ended up it was I think the Lantern Group, they dissolved the whole company for 310 million and then they sold off the assets to Spyglass and Lionsgate and 101. So,
Right. So 101 was the people that I met somewhere. You know, I like I said, I used to go to more industry events. These days, admittedly, I don't really get invited to much of those for whatever reasons. But I used to be in situations where I had more conversations like that, and I do think it's kind of funny. It's almost like a Forrest Gump situation where I'm Forrest Gump. Actually, I'm not. Forrest Gump always like he ends up the winner. So I wasn't even the winner here. I'm just like I was more
yeah.
like Lieutenant Dan or something.
And you know what? I really enjoyed Hell or High Water. It had Jeff Bridges was
Great in it, yeah.
himself in it. It had a real Coen Brothers feel to it. I thought it was I thought it was a very satisfying movie to watch. And I'm not the biggest fan of Chris Pine, but I thought he did a fantastic job.
Probably his best role to date. The best thing
Yeah.
that Chris Pine ever did is probably that movie. I thought he
Yeah.
was he was good in it. I don't hate Chris Pine, but you know what? That was good.
Yeah,
I
I
I'll
don't hate him, but I never really, never loved him either. But in that movie, he really got my attention.
I'm gonna say something that may not be to everybody's liking, but, the first J.J. Abrams movie when I saw it, out of the recast, I didn't hate him as Kirk. He's obviously not the real Kirk, he's not like William Shatner for me, but I didn't hate him. I thought that the cast of that movie was likable enough, and even, like, that first Star Trek movie kind of, fooled me a bit. I at that time, there was a lot of goodwill for me, you know what I mean? It's the same thing with Star Wars, it's like, "Man, I get to see a Star Trek movie?" So I went to see it, and I said to myself, "Yeah, they dumbed it down a bit, and they made it for more like, younger audience or whatever it is." But I was able to kind of enjoy it, and I said, like, "Well, the cast wasn't bad. I didn't completely hate this movie." By the time like Star Trek Into Darkness or whatever it's called, that one already like exposed what
Yeah.
a
Oh,
what a
yeah.
deceitful hamburglar J.J. Abrams is. But the first movie, I didn't really know. Like I always suspected that he was like, very overrated, and I never liked Lost, and I thought he was very overrated. But somehow when it came to like the first Star Trek movie and The Force Awakens, maybe because of like fan goodwill or whatever you want to call it, he managed to like fool me for a few minutes. But at the end, both of those like franchises is exposed that he is the Hamburglar of Hollywood.
Yeah, Cloverfield's the only thing that I liked of his. I didn't like Alias, and I think that was mostly accident. We have a new member of the channel, Karate Werewolf.
Oh wow, Karate
Welcome.
Werewolf. He has such a great screen name.
Yep.
Well, I want to thank you for being a member of Karate Werewolf. That's very kind of you. Let me highlight this in the best way that I can. So I'm doing it right now.
While
Okay.
you're doing that, I will admit when I was in the theater watching that Star Trek movie, I was kind of caught up in the adrenaline. But as we were walking back to the car, I'm like, that was kind of stupid, wasn't it? And there were things that happened, like the Enterprise being built on Earth. Well, that's dumb. And then the whole, oh my God, the whole fighting. Yeah, I'm just like, okay, this is, uh, but I was suckered in to thinking it was better than it was while I was watching it. So, I kinda got my money's worth, but except the damage it did, to the overall, it was incalculable the damage it did to the franchise.
It taught all these companies the wrong lessons. Basically, what I've learned, and especially now recently from Stranger Things, is that when Hollywood sees that they get away with something, instead of thinking to themselves like, "Oh, we really got away with that, somehow, but let's be mindful. Let's not make a habit of this." The opposite happens. They get away with something, they want to get away with more. Like Stranger Things, for example. The first in season 3, they introduced the character of Robin, who initially was supposed to be a love interest for Steve. That would make sense because Steve wanted to be with Nancy, but it looked like she was with Jonathan. Introducing a different love interest for Steve and giving him some kind of purpose and relationship would have been an interesting take. I mean, Would I 100% have chosen Maya Hawke? I don't know. I don't know if she was right for that role, but whatever. I thought, it could have worked somehow, especially in that first season. They seemed to have chemistry, but then something that changed. I don't think initially she was supposed to be like a LG character, but suddenly they're just like, "Oh, why don't we make her an LG character?" And then Steve thinks that like she likes him. She's like, "No, I don't like you. I like women." And they did that, and somehow people were like, "Okay." Then the next season, they had something where, she's already like she wants to date some lady and whatever. Another thing that like I don't need like her love life, center stage every second. And it's not like sorry for this is your name. It's not an istophobic thing. It's like it starts to become like there's a difference between just doing something organic that could happen and you're just kind of it's happening and whatever, and making it center stage and just kind of like,
I- I-
diverting the whole show around this thing
Yeah, well,
and
that's
doing it in
really
such a blunt way, you know what I mean?
well, that's the problem. It's only a virtue signal if they call attention to it, and it's the calling attention to it that's so annoying. Just let it happen and be a part of the overall
Yeah, it
narrative.
could have been something, like first of all, even the revelation of her telling Steve, "Oh, I'm this and that," felt like such a kind of downer moment that doesn't help anybody or the plot. It made sense when they introduced her as his love interest. The fact that they changed it, that, like he doesn't like her, that she doesn't like him, was annoying. And it was exactly at the height of that kind of Me Too and all that stuff that like I don't need no man and all that shit. And they did it and they changed it for the woke whatever was cooking in the background, and it doesn't work with the show. But then they got greedy. They're like, look, we got away with it, now let's make it more, now let's make it about our relationships, now let's do more. Not only that, next they're like, well, what about Will can be that too. It's like, guys, okay, there's a group of people, you have one that's like that. It's the 80s, you know what I mean? They're not all talking about it. These people that made this show, they're this is not what the 80s were like, okay?
Um,
I'm not
yeah,
saying
yeah,
that I'm not saying that somebody couldn't have been that in the 80s, but I think that it was handled and addressed and talked about in a very different way than what we see in the show. And I think that having two people in this group was already like, this is the part where they become greedy, where they can't just let something be in the background and just whatever. Now it's all about that. So in season 4, they had something that was like more poignant, where like Will's brother suspects that he's that. And they have a conversation where they don't necessarily say that, but his brother gives him the feeling that no matter what like Will does, because he's his brother, he'll always be there for him. And you know what? I thought that if you were going to go this kind of route or whatever it is, that was the most. Meaning, at that moment, I thought to myself, I hope that this doesn't escalate another level. Do you get what I mean?
yeah. And the timing couldn't be worse, man. You have 2 episodes left to wrap up 5 years worth of stuff, and you're spending all this time on stuff that doesn't matter. It only matters to Hollywood people because they have to virtue signal to each other. It's very
Right,
frustrating.
right. So basically what they did was is that like what did they do? They got away with season 3, and they're like they did a season 4 which had a lot of like positive reviews, and then they just said, "Listen, okay, we did season 3, we did that little thing, we did season 4. What if season 5 we took it another level forward?" And it's like, "No, you fuck faces. This isn't the lesson you're supposed to learn. Yes, you did that already. Now just finish your fucking story. You had people watching this thing for years. It took you 70 years to make this thing. You know what I mean? Just give your fucking episodes and stop lecturing people." Like this was the most greedy and shitty behavior on their end. And like the fact that at the end Will would sit there in front of like 70 people that some of them he doesn't even know or barely knows them. He's lecturing them all and telling them about this thing. It was such nonsense. I mean, if they insisted on doing it, and I think they already did that with the brother in season 4, they could have had something that he tells, his mother. You know what I mean? He sits and talks to her, and maybe he doesn't even finish his sentence, and she says, "Listen, you know, like something like I know, and you're my son, and nothing will change that." Something that takes like a few seconds, like almost in passing, that he just tells her on the side in a more intimate conversation, and she comforts him, says something, and they go on their way. I think that would have been mildly manageable. But the fact that everything that led up to it, first of all, he discovers that he's like, he's like that. So that's what gave him his powers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
Then his weakness is Vecna, not his power. Now it's his weakness that he does the thing. It's like shut up, and then he has to go and Maya Hawk is like I said she was like the Obi-Wan Kenobi of LG people. He has to go and like get her advice all the time. This is such weird shit. This is not what the show was about, and all of the expensive characters that we did care about. It started off the original show started off with like Lucas with Mike and Dustin. They were like the main guys. You had 11 that kind of joined their crew, but like the heart of the show was these three kids. You know what I mean? Like then everything was sort of around them, and you had a few of like the secondary characters. You did have Nancy and Jonathan and Steve. You did have like Elle and Hopper and Joyce. This was like the core group. Okay, this was the core, and it needed to really focus on like on the main characters more. Instead we get all this like Robin, who's like, I don't know why they keep trying to make her a thing, and Will talking about this stuff like 7 hours. It's just it's disrespectful. It's not. And people, most of the people in my comments from my review actually agreed with me, and even people I had people even come to my review and say, hey, I am an LG person and I also thought it was disrespectful. Like, focus on the story, nobody needs this, you know what I mean? So I had that. Once in a while I got one where like, where you're just a terrible person, that's why you're so, yeah, you're just an istophobe. Sorry,
Well,
istophobus, you know what I
well,
mean?
that's where I got the name from, because so many people are coming out and really not liking this. They're trying to, the studios are trying to go with that review bombing narrative, but it's not working because it's pretty much universally despised. And even the people that would normally be on board and say review bombing, they don't like it either. So there's a huge difference between review bombing and negative reviews as a consequence of it being crap. And I don't think those guys are capable of doing anything better. I don't think they actually created the show. They Did you know the Duffer Brothers have been sued not one, two, three, but four times for stealing somebody else's idea? Four
I would
separate
believe it.
times.
I mean, listen, even these shows, it looks like if you're familiar with the 80s, there's so many ideas that they lifted from other places.
Yeah. But
Even the Demogorgons, they look like stuff that you see maybe in The Thing. There's a lot of stuff that you could tell that they watched over the years and they're very heavily influenced by as sort of a remix to things that we know and like. I didn't hate it, but if people got up and started suing with them, it doesn't completely surprise me either. None of this would
well,
stun me.
so one of the guys that sued them actually had a pitch ready to go with concept art. The concept art was created by a guy named Aaron Sims. Guess who did the concept art for this show? After they, and I say allegedly, but Netflix wrote a really big check to this guy. They actually had the same guy who did the concept art for that guy's project come over to do Stranger Things. I have a lot of notes about the lawsuits and the history and the fact that the guys who claim they originally developed Stranger Things and the Duffer Brothers stole them, they have a ton of receipts. And the Duffer Brothers, during the first lawsuit, they said it's baseless, meritless. They have no proof. And the judge said, "Well, looking at the evidence, I don't think your guy's defense holds any kind of water. So I'm sending this to the jury." And the day before it was supposed to go to trial, the guy withdraws the suit. They ask him why. He doesn't say. He's like, "Oh, I just decided I was wrong." That never happens. He got a gigantic check from Netflix. So I'm saying I'm not sure they're capable of doing any better because I don't think they came up with the original characters. The other thing is that the guy who originally came up with this stuff before, he has like notes and anecdotes. Here's one he says. Um, he says, "I got the idea after the death of a childhood friend who suffered from epilepsy. During their childhood together in rural Indiana, Kennedy and his friend Fred dealt with the constant threat of this friend's personal demon, which created lightning showers in his brain. All these lightning showers or seizures would sort of send him to an alternate supernatural plane where the demon resided." This was the idea they came up with, because of his friend that was having these real life seizures. He's like, and that's where it came from. And The Duffer Brothers. So where'd you get your ideas? Oh, they just came to us. So who do you believe?
You know, I'll tell you, not only do I believe the people usually that say that, things are stolen, I've had a situation once, there's no point in me like, it doesn't really matter. I've had a situation before that I pitched something and I strongly believe that somebody went and did something with an idea that I had. It was very, very difficult. I'm gonna say this, I probably shouldn't. I consulted with people, if you understand what I mean,
Yep.
how to proceed in a situation like this. I did, like, a consultation with a person that, you would consult with, if you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And, I was told that there is something there, but for many different reasons, I mean, you start suing and things like that, that's a whole thing that you have to sometimes either invest money in or things like that, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, you have to invest money and time, and it has a tendency to sort of dominate your life. Look at the Gina Carano lawsuit. It was like taking over her entire life. You have to, you have to feel really like nobody does this. Oh, I think I can get some quick money. Let's do that. If you're going all in, it's because you're a true believer and you believe there's
Listen,
something
it
there.
would have been a difficult, thing to do on a lot of different levels, but if you ask me, I am about 95% sure that those people took something. It's more than 95. I would go even to 99, meaning the person I showed this to didn't laugh me out of the room. Nobody said, "Oh, you're crazy." You know what I'm saying? But, it's just like, th there have been situations where people legitimately like stole shows and couldn't get their money, couldn't recover anything. Very rarely do you get something that like is resolved in a way that like is satisfactory to the people suing. You had the guy that plays Anakin Skywalker. You had Hayden Christensen. He thought of a show called Growing Royal Pains, whatever that thing. Remember that
Oh, the Long Island Medical Show.
the Long Island Medical
Yeah,
Show.
Royal Pains. Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, uh, Hayden Christensen, aka Anakin Skywalker from the prequels, and his brother came up with that idea for the show. They had a meeting. They pitched everything. They said, "This is our idea." They sent them all the material, and the network, which was NBC/USA, because
Hey.
USA is owned by NBC, they
Yeah.
said to them, "This is the worst idea we've ever heard. Like, thank you. We'll let you know. Like, thanks for stopping by, guys. This is never going to make it. Like, fuck you, whatever it is." And the second they walked out the door, they said, "You know what? I have an idea for a show."
Yeah.
And then they actually made the show, and it was their idea. They pitched it to them, and then they made their own show. And I think that like Hayden Christensen sued them, and it helps that I'm not saying that he's at the top of Hollywood, but at least it helps that somebody knows who you are.
Oh,
You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? You see
Yeah.
this in the papers, and this was for a number of years. You kept seeing like updates about this lawsuit. These big corporations, they keep filing extensions, keep like trying to drain you and like waste your time and all this shit. I would think that even though he wasn't like, maybe starring in a million movies, he must have had enough money for this venture. Okay.
Yeah.
So he had enough money for the venture, and at the end, at some point, they settled with him. Somebody cut him a check for something, and he went away. But most people are not Anakin Skywalker. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like most people will go through that process and end with nothing. He had to fight really hard to get something, which apparently wasn't like difficult to prove. He had the paper trail and everything, and at the end, they had to pay up.
Yeah, if
But
they end up cutting a check to the plaintiff, there's proof there because otherwise, it usually doesn't roll out that way. There is definitely something
Oh, I'm
there.
sure of it. I'm sure that they had no
Uh,
choice. Like, I think they
yeah,
tried everything they could. Now let me see for a second. Hayden Christensen lawsuit.
but the biggest evidence against the Duffer Brothers is seasons 2 through 5, showing that those are not the same brains that came up with season 1.
Okay. So here, let me show you what happened. Actor Hayden Christensen and his brother sued USA Network, claiming they stole their idea for a concierge doctor show called House Call, which became Royal Pains. But the case faced legal hurdles, initially dismissed as an idea not subject to copyright, before an appeals court revived it, leading to a settlement in 2013 where both sides agreed to cover their own costs.
Oh, interesting.
I
Um,
mean, I tend to think there's more to it than, you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
I
Well,
feel like what happened was, is that they said that both side would cover their own costs, but at the same time, a check was written. Why would Christensen, bail at that point?
in the case of Charlie Kessler, he had already done a short film. He developed a show Bible and actually had a pitch with the Duffer Brothers in 2014 at the Tribeca Film Festival. The Duffer Brothers said, "What are you working on? Maybe we can work together." And so they actually had an implied contract. The judge said, "Man, there's a real case here, and a jury needs to decide the matters of fact." So it wasn't just an idea. And originally, the show, it was in a different location, and they didn't even change the character names that Charlie had come up with. So, I mean, there are so many of the original guy's fingerprints on the thing. I don't think there's any way a jury wouldn't have awarded him whatever he was asking for, which is why Netflix wrote him a huge check on the stipulation that he shut up and quietly go away, which he did.
Well, in this case here, they're not saying, who paid who what, but the fact that he was able to revive his claim and there was an appeal and suddenly there was a settlement, I tend to think that at that point, Hayden Christensen would only settle if somebody was paying him, because if he already got to this appeal thing, I think that you want to go all in. You
Oh,
know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
You don't get
yeah.
to this appeal part, which is a huge win for you, that like now they're in a hot seat and they have to do something and they're basically kind of screwed, like USA Network. Suddenly there's a settlement. The reason that they said they're all going to cover their own expenses is it really gives the feeling of no wrongdoing. You know what I mean? Oh, we're just
Oh,
walking
yeah.
away. We each covered our expenses. But if they cut him a check for millions of dollars, what does he care if he covers his expenses?
And the thing is with creatives, it's not just about the money. We've both done worked in creative industries. There's a certain feeling you get when you legitimately believe that somebody stole your stuff, and it's a hard thing to live with. It can really burn you up, and it can really become a larger thing over time as you grow resentful, as other things maybe don't succeed like you want them to. So it's not just about the money here. I mean, imagine y- imagine how the guy, if the guy really did write the show and it's this raging success and these guys are getting all the credit and accolades while this guy's sitting in his apartment, eating cold pizza. I mean, God, imagine what that guy feels. Imagine what he's living with.
I mean, I'm telling you, I had a similar feeling. Like, it's a very, very crappy feeling.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And mine,
And
I'm not Anakin Skywalker. Mine wasn't resolved. Like I couldn't, I didn't have the resources to battle it out, versus a network for years in court.
yeah,
Not only that, to be fair, and I have to be fair here, what what if the show would have become a big hit, maybe then it would have been worth it. But the problem is that the show that I'm referring to was not a hit. If you
oh,
understand what I'm saying.
yeah, I actually liked the show. It wasn't that big of a hit. I watched it
No,
for a
Royal
couple of
Pains
years.
was a
Oh,
hit. I'm saying that the one that
oh,
I did
oh, oh,
wasn't a hit.
oh, oh, okay. Yeah,
Royal Pains did well. They had like
yeah,
8 seasons of that shit on that show. It was like their highest rated
yeah.
crappy show on that network.
I only liked the first few seasons, then it got stupid, but I did enjoy it at first. I was like, "Oh, okay,
Yeah,
you're."
no, I mean, listen, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna be honest with you. It was a really dumb show, but there was something a bit guilty pleasure about it, and I found myself watching it, even though we both know it wasn't the best show. The early seasons had more merit than the later ones. The later ones, they just kind of it became like a lot of those shows that they become more of a soap opera. Now
Yeah,
this
and a
person has
parody.
feelings for that person, and that person has feelings for that person, and you're just like, "Man, can you just shut up and do the doctor thing?"
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of shows become parodies of themselves, and
No, and you know what annoyed me? You know what annoyed me? This like, I'm just thinking about that now, and I'm sorry that I'm thinking about this, and I won't talk about it. That stupid Royal Pains show, there was Indian physician assistants, Divya,
yeah,
whatever her name was. Remember her?
yeah, she was hot, man.
Yeah, I liked her, but the thing is that she basically initially there's a guy that they want him to be her husband, from what I remember.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
what
she was had an arranged marriage, yeah.
Arranged marriage, and then she, like, I guess she doesn't like that arranged marriage, so she went and I vaguely recall, maybe I'm wrong, she gets pregnant from a whole other guy. That's not the arranged marriage. She gets, like, out of it, she gets pregnant, but then the original guy comes back and she's like, "Oh, you know what? Maybe he wasn't so bad." It's like, "Bitch,
Yeah.
you had your arranged marriage, he was already a thing, and now you don't like him, now you do like him." Maybe I'm wrong, I could be wrong, but that kind of stuff annoys me because I don't know.
Yeah,
You only
well,
do that if you want to annoy your viewers, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's no I don't know why that just seems annoying to me. Like, you didn't want your arranged marriage, he's out, you hated him. Don't then later do, like, some other arc where, like, after there's a baby from somebody else, he comes back. I could be wrong, maybe I'm wrong about all of this, but that's what I vaguely recall.
I remember it going sort of full on girl boss toward the end. This was like the
Yeah, yeah.
proto woke era.
Too
Uh,
too much, yeah. All these shows, Suits also, there's shows that started
uh,
off with, like, prior to the full-on woke era, and they started off pretty cool, and with every season, they became a little more woke, and if already the show was, like, spilling into, like, 2016, 17, all of them suffer. They all, like, go off the rails, and you could tell that moment that it becomes, like, very woke.
yeah, it happens a lot. In Suits, I loved the first season. It was a brilliant idea, but you can't keep stretching something like that out. Something had to give, and then it just kind of became a dumb legal show, you know?
Well,
Uh,
I mean, one of the biggest problems that, one of the biggest problems of Suits is that there's only so much you can believe this guy is not a lawyer and he's gonna stay at this firm.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's and
If there was a way much earlier for him to somehow get the degree and fool people, I don't know what, but somehow, uh, you know, him being okay, if for many years he was there and it was just some kind of oversight they took care of and nobody knew, but the fact that each time, like, 5 people discover it and yet he's still doing it, this is the part where it didn't make sense anymore. There were too many people that knew, and
yeah.
it took, like, 70 seasons until, like, finally somebody did something. It
Yeah,
was it
yeah,
was
that's
like the Minnesota fraud.
yeah, it started getting
Good segue, right?
pretty bad. And yeah, speaking of rent free and
Speaking of
getting away with
fraud, yeah.
fraud, let's talk about Minnesota. What's going on, Price, in Minnesota?
Man, I mean, I think everybody's seen this thing that, like, that Nick Shirley guy did the whole report that he went to all those places in Minnesota, and he went, like, to each location, tried to get them to, show him where the kids are at or what the facility does. Sometimes it would be healthcare, sometimes it would be daycare, and according to what he saw, a lot of these places just look like these kind of shell companies. Like, they're not real, they're not doing anything, and it's just
Uh,
a scam. It's like it looks like billions and billions of dollars went to these people,
oh yeah,
and
yeah, they're doing something. They are cashing really big checks and doing nothing else.
it's not only fraud, it's very greedy fraud. That's the thing. It's
Yeah.
like it's like beyond anything that like imaginable. I keep hearing people, they're like, "Oh, why are we giving this? Why are we doing this with the money? Why are we doing that?" About all this stuff. The amount of money that's here is like more than all that other stuff people are whining about. You know what I'm saying? That, like, all the things that I've been hearing about, like, wasting and spending over the past, like, year or two, I feel like this thing probably tops it all. Like, this is a whole
Well,
lot of money. It is a lot of money to spend on fraud.
well, the people that were going online complaining about, food stamps or their Obamacare getting expensive, or even those asking for reparations, I'm like, you know where your money went? Your money went to those guys, and yet you're also defending them. You think it grows on tree? We have a limited supply of that stuff. And if you're so certain that the money should have gone to you, you really shouldn't be supporting the people who stole it. The most frustrating thing is you already know that the people really responsible are not going to be held accountable, and that's the really rough part of all this. It just makes me think, man, I wish I had a thought of that.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, that's what you start thinking to yourself. You're like, "What am I doing?" You know what I mean? All I had to do was open some, like, nonsense daycare thing and just put a sign that says "Leering Center," and somebody would have given me, like, $3,000,000. What are
Oh
we
no,
even doing here? You know what I
oh,
mean?
no,
W
you just added to the lore, dude. Now we have Price's Leering Center. You know, you're gonna you're gonna
Right.
be.
I mean, the thing is that, like, what am I even doing here talking with you? It's the Phobos, like, why am I not at a daycare center now collecting my $3,000,000? It's wild. It's just it's like there's so many levels on why this is infuriating, and I think that it's really struck a chord with people. It's like
Yeah.
the
Well,
idea of them coming from another country, hating the place, then taking the thing and and then doing this deceitful stuff, the thing that also has to do potentially with voters and all this. It's just
yeah.
it's such an un
Multiple times the entire gross domestic product of that entire country by a factor of 3 or 4. But you know the old saying, steal $1,000, you're a thief. Steal $10,000,000, you're a captain of industry.
yeah. I mean, and the thing is that it also feels like somebody had to have helped them. You know what I mean? Like they came here and immediately like they know how to do all this shit. I feel like there's people that helped them. This is a scheme that goes so deep, in
Yeah,
my
we know
opinion.
who helped him. We know who helped him. The funny thing is that um basically 80% of the people involved in the fraud, 80% of the people from a certain place are involved in the fraud. And the 20% that aren't, they're running some kind of other scam. It's like nobody is here. They say, oh, they're the backbone of our state. They contribute to society. No, they don't. They are all running fraudulent scam operations. They're not contributing anything. They are taking up welfare. They are taking up Medicare, and at the same time they are bleeding money from the system that you're complaining isn't helping you. They are not contributing to anything. And it just again, we know who's helping them, and we know they are not ever going to see the inside of a jail cell. They're not even going to have to give the money back, for God's sake.
It's extremely frustrating. It is extremely frustrating for sure.
Yeah,
And
look at my coffee mug. Like that stuff's not free, man. And
nobody's
40
gonna ever
billion
find
would
this money.
pay.
They sent it already to other places. Nobody knows where it went. This is gonna be like, we talk about like the biggest heists. We were like the Lufthansa heist or whatever it is, like in Goodfellas. This is like the biggest heist. I don't think
Oh,
there's a biggest heist than this thing that they have all those buildings with a daycare is such a joke. It is such a joke that this existed, and it probably. I understand that this Nick Shirley did his report, and I really respect what he did by going, door to door and doing this. I will say though that like you now see news reports a few people were sharing that somebody like in 2018 was making similar, arguments and everybody was just telling them to shut up. Like it's not that nobody ever said anything. It's just that
yeah, nobody listened. They knew this has
look,
been going on for at least 10 or 15 years.
there were people trying to sound the alarm sooner, but nobody actually paid attention to them.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
think that, a lot of it
Um,
has to do with Elon Musk owning Twitter. If he didn't
yeah.
own it, we wouldn't see this thing. The
Yeah, we
fact
wouldn't
that
even know. It's not being reported on any of the mainstream media. And now they're saying it's spread to other states. Ohio has just found similar schemes set up with the same countries involved. Like, how far does this? Every day they discover a new department that's completely inculcated with fraud. This is insanity. Like, that's our tax money, man. That's federal tax money. That's our, the stuff that they want more of because they spend too much of it.
This shouldn't even be a political issue. It should be like a nonpartisan issue or whatever you want to
Oh,
call it. Like
absolutely.
this should be or bipartisan or whatever you want to call it. This is not something that should be like, oh, I voted for this guy, I voted for that guy. Anybody that like lives here and sees that all that money went and just like vanished in the way that it did with this kind of fraud should be concerned about it. Should
Yeah.
be very concerned about a whole lot of things about it because if money could be wasted there, obviously it's the tip of the iceberg. and it actually it goes back to us thinking of stuff like USAID or whatever you want to
Yeah,
call it that Elon Musk was trying to take apart. Do you remember what happened when he started shutting things down? The kind of like, there were people don't remember this. This wasn't 50 years ago. This was in the past year. There were people trying to blow up Tesla dealerships.
dealerships. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
remember that? This you'd think that this happened like, you're like, "Oh, I remember that era. That was like in the 60s." No, this was less than a year ago. There were people going around trying to
Um,
blow up Tesla things, and everybody was just kind of, especially the mainstream media, just like, "Oh, yeah, sure." Like
yeah,
nobody
and
said
this
anything.
this shows how irresponsible the Democrats are. It's a political issue because they're importing and buying voters, but they're paying millions of dollars per vote. If I was going to do that, dude, I can get votes for $100 a piece. It's like, hey, vote for Kamala. Here's a C note. It's just like the campaign they ran. They're still in debt. They are literally burning money, throwing it down, and pissing it away. And like if you are going to commit voter fraud, it shouldn't cost billions. You should be able to do it for hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, they're really not good. Like it's a bad business deal and it's a fraud. It's like a
Yeah.
combination of bad business and fraud. We have another super chat here from the Real Head Case for 199. GI Joe animated movie in the 80s intro dope. Um, GI Joe movie. I remember the show. Was there an animated movie in the 80s?
I just remember the TV show.
Real American
American
hero.
heroes fighting Cobra
Joe is
and
there.
Destro.
Oh, I thought it was GI Joe is there. GI
Oh,
Joe.
that too. That too.
Something like that. Yeah, I mean, I like the show. I don't know if you were referring to the show or whatever it is.
I don't know what that intersected with what we were talking about, but thank you for the super chat.
So deep that if Price were running the investigation, he'd declare when he hit the bottom, "How did we get here, Professor?" It's true though. I don't know how we would get it.
Well, technically you could call
Lost.
me Dr. Istophobos. So not a medical doctor.
Lost? Are you saying that the movie is lost? I have no idea what you're talking about. All I know is that I've seen the cartoon, the animated show. Never seen an animated movie of GI Joe. Not saying that one didn't exist. In the 80s, I did see the Transformers animated movie. I saw He-Man, and it was called like He-Man and the Sword of the Stone, or I don't know, something with the sword. The He-Man and She-Ra movie.
Oh yeah, 1987 GI Joe the movie.
Sorry then. I guess
1 hour. It looks similar. 1 hour and 33 minutes. I missed that.
have to watch that sometime. But I will say that the He-Man movie I saw, I did see the He-Man movie and I did see the Transformers movie.
Burgess Meredith was the voice of Globulus.
Did not know that. But
Yeah,
I
I
will
mean,
say that I'm ashamed to admit this, somewhat ashamed. I actually liked the movie with He-Man and She-Ra. Later, it became a big talking point that the second they introduced She-Ra, they ruined the brand and the toys, and there's always been bickering about this. But as a kid, I thought that movie that he meets his sister and they both have the swords, like, I didn't mind that, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't look at that and get upset. I thought that was interesting. And not only that, I can't believe I'm thinking about that now, but the idea that there was this other dimension and that, his long lost sister was there and she was like basically with the bad guys and she was brainwashed and he had to like make her understand that she's like supposed to be one of the good guys. That was a pretty interesting idea. I didn't think that was a
yeah,
bad story. Like
yeah.
I kind of like it.
Listen, okay, Estephobos's number one rule of Hollywood: they will always take away the wrong lesson from a success or failure. You mentioned that before. Number two, I don't have a problem with women. I love women. Bring on all the women you want. Just don't tear down the men to elevate the women, and we'll be okay. And they didn't do that, so I didn't have a problem either.
Yeah, no, no, and I don't think it was disrespectful to He-Man. I think that
No, not at all.
they both shined. I thought it was great. I
Yeah.
I really really enjoyed it. I thought like first of all, like, in that movie they have the only time you'll see this like a double transformation where he turns into He-Man and she turns into She-Ra. And you know what? I like it. I like the double transformation. Where is that double transformation? Now I'm curious.
Um, yeah,
Do you remember it?
yeah, vaguely.
He-Man. Let's see. She-Ra double transformation. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Probably somebody's gonna get upset, but let's just do this. Are you ready?
By the power of
Can you hear it?
Grayskull,
Yes, yes.
for the honor of Grayskull.
And they made her look cool. Like, she didn't look like she looked pretty awesome.
She's a babe.
Compare now what, like, they showed the new She-Ra, it looks like shit.
this looks like double.
I
Um,
enjoyed it. I'm not gonna lie to you. And the
yeah,
new She-Ra is so miserable. It's they did the thing and then she, like, likes women and whatever it is.
yeah. So remember last week, I was telling a little bit of my adventures in Asia, and
Yes.
it got me thinking. I was going through some stuff, and I found a picture of a very young me and my girlfriend that people were having a laugh at. So I thought I would show everybody. Oh,
Alright, do it.
might have to shrink that down. Is that coming? Well, let's see. Can you full screen me there?
Hold on one
Let's
second.
see. I'm hiding my actual face, but I am showing.
What do I do?
I have no. You go to. I don't know actually. There. Well, okay. Hold on. I can shrink this. So.
No,
Um.
here you go. Here, what did you wanna yeah, this is you in,
Yep. And that was Mrs. Piggy that was hiding out from the police in a barn, and she came over and sort of kept me warm. And in the morning, she brought me an apple, so I got her some biscuits. Here, you can let's see.
where was this, taking place?
So this hold on, let me find the image here. This was China.
Oh, I didn't
Um
know you were Scott Baio.
yeah, okay, the hair. Yeah. Listen, man, there wasn't a barber shop for like 2,000 miles in any direction. So
Hey, listen, during that time, people looked like Scott Baio. What can you
yeah,
do?
yeah. So yeah, I made friends with this pig. I was sleeping in her barn. She comes over and sniffs at me, decides I'm okay, and then snuggles up next to me, very warm because it was cold outside. And in the morning, she went and grabbed like an apple from her little food thing and put it in her mouth and dropped it at my feet. And I'm like, oh, so I went and got her some of these little sweet biscuits here, and I'm about to feed her and head on my way to the rural frozen north. But they took a picture of me with my camera there, and I just thought I would say, "Yep." So I always joke, this is me and my girlfriend. We had a brief fling.
It's kind of funny. Well, I did not know that you had such, relationships with pigs, but
uh,
it's
hey,
good to know.
hey, listen, man, that's some of the better ones I've had. If we're being if we're being honest, it
Oh,
was
but you shrunk
very
your thing now. Now you're too you're small again.
yeah, it was
It's
very
okay.
straightforward. You know, like
So, by the way, I wanna show you something. You wanna see, like, something disgraceful?
sure.
So, I'm gonna show you a comparison of the new She-Ra versus the
Oh,
'80s She-Ra.
okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah,
The one on the left
I've
is gonna be the 1980s one, and the one on the right is the 2018 one. And you think after so many years, you know, there will be advancements that if you thought whatever happened in the '80s was cool, well, the new one should be 5 times cooler, right?
yeah, but we know better now.
Now look at the difference between them. This is the difference between, like, on the left, you have the '80s one, and on the right, you have, like, the 2018 one.
Yeah,
Such a disgrace.
completely androgynous. That could be
Androgynous,
uh,
she
yeah.
like, the left one is a very much a woman. There's things here that They're making sure you know that this is a very feminine woman with feminine features, the one on the left. There's no way you can mistake it. Whereas the right one, they've battled the male gaze. They did the little boy build. Her
Yeah,
face is like a little boy.
she could be Ong from The Last Airbender if you got rid of the hair. Like,
They completely gave her like the little boy treatment. One of them looks like real artists did it, the one on the left, and the other one it looks like something you find like on Pinterest or something. You know, one of those stupid. You
yeah,
know what I'm trying
Tumblr.
to say? Like
Yeah, yeah.
this is shit. This is like some idiot on Reddit would put it on. Like this is not the fact that they greenlit it. Look how ugly. Look at her lips. There's no lips.
It's just a
Look at
line, man.
look at this. Look how awful this is.
Yeah, with
Abel
the,
Levine
of
said you
course,
never knew there was a new Shira. Oh, there was a new Shira.
with the
Not
shoulder
only that,
pads to make
not only
sure,
that. What'd you say?
with the shoulder pads to make sure that there's nothing feminine left on that frame.
Nothing feminine left, and not only that, during the Shira run, she discovers that she actually is fond of women in the animated show on Netflix.
I'm shocked.
I don't think anybody is shocked. And like in one of the episodes, she starts like I think making out with a woman, and I'm like thinking to myself, what the fuck did they do to this thing? Like this didn't even used to be what the show was about. How did it become from like Shira, the one that you see on the left, that it suddenly became the thing where like she discovers she likes women and all this shit? What is this? What is this? And she looks like shit too.
Yeah, wow, that original Shira, she is packing a pair of Haley Atwells there, isn't she?
She is.
Do you have a reverse angle on that?
What'd you say?
I said, do you have a rear a reverse
I don't.
angle? I'll bet she's got junk in the trunk too. I'm just saying.
In any case, it's clear that they wanted her to be like an appealing woman. They went all in. They want you to look at Shira and think this is an appealing woman. Whereas, like, look at what they did Netflix on the right. It's so disgraceful. Like, there is no bigger shame than what they did to this character.
Yeah, yeah. And this is what's going to happen to every single Warner Brothers IP. By the way, just letting you know.
Yeah. Well, it is what it is. This is what it is, and there's nothing we can do.
Yeah, what we can do is make sure we have copies and physical media and save the originals and not allow them to at least take that away from us.
Yep. Let
We
me
must
see
preserve
if I can find-
history.
I'm trying to see if I can find something. There was something.
The Scott Baio comment really, like, I never thought of that, but like you kind of nailed it there. And now I'm a little bit I'm like, oh no.
I'm trying to see prices. I'm trying to find. Why can't I find Shira? Ugh. I was looking for this, but I can't find it.
Are you?
There was like a video that I once posted that like, of from the Shira Netflix show. It was like a 10-second video. But if you saw those 10 seconds, you would understand how terrible it was. But I can't seem to find it. So yeah, I mean, back to what we were saying, because like, we don't have to dwell on it 70 hours. I think everybody really knows that this Minnesota thing is a fraud. But one thing that I can ask you is, do you think something really is going to happen to somebody? Because I know that they said that they're going to stop the payments. There was this thing today.
Yeah, but there'll be a judge and there'll be somebody suing him in a Democratic district to make sure he doesn't stop the payments, because every time he's tried to claw money back, they instantly start filing injunctions to make the money go out. They're going to try to stop him from stopping the payments, but God, I hope this time at least he's able to do that.
Let's see if I can find this. I'm trying to find this thing. Where was this story? Fuck.
Let's see. I've seen it. Well, that's the other thing, is that a lot of the mainstream media is
No,
not
but there
reporting
was
on this
something.
at all.
Okay, freezes. This is what I wanted. Okay, I
Okay.
got it. So
Like-
this is from the Department of
Yeah,
The Department of, what is it? Human Health Services or whatever it is, they've halted all the money that goes out to these programs.
yeah, this should be on the front page of every single media, news, TV program in the country, and it's not.
So let's see if we can hear what these guys said. This is pretty interesting. Although they talk slow, so I'm gonna maybe increase the speed of it because I watched it once and I felt like they could have talked faster than they talked.
Yeah, 1.5 will be good.
I'm HHS Deputy Secretary Jim O'Neill. I'm here with Assistant Secretary Alex Adams. Alex oversees the Administration for Children and Families. Intrepid journalists have made shocking and credible allegations of extensive fraud in Minnesota's child care programs. We believe the state of Minnesota has allowed scammers and fake daycares to siphon millions of taxpayer dollars over the past decade.
My office, ACF, provides Minnesota $185 million in child care funds each year. That money should be helping 19,000 American children, including toddlers and infants. Any dollar stolen by fraudsters is stolen from those children. Yesterday, I spoke directly with the director of the Minnesota Child Care Services Office. She could not tell me with confidence whether those allegations of fraud are isolated or whether there's fraud stretching statewide.
Today, we've taken 3 direct actions against the blatant fraud that seems to be rampant in Minnesota. First, I have activated our Defend the Spend system for all ACF child care payments across America. Starting today, we require a justification, receipt, or photo evidence before we make a payment. Second, I've just signed and sent a demand letter to Governor Walz. I required a full 360 review of these centers. This includes attendance records, licenses, complaints, investigations, and inspections.
And third, we've launched a dedicated fraud reporting hotline and email address at childcare.gov. Whether you're a parent, a provider, a member of the public, we want to hear from you. Let me be crystal clear. ACF expects every state to uphold the highest standards of oversight, monitoring, and accountability for federal dollars. Minnesota is no exception.
We're committed to holding bad actors accountable. Regardless of rank or office, anyone who's involved in perpetrating this fraud against the American people should expect to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
Produced by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
So I don't know why I can't find the video itself, but this is off topic. Just I want to say that there's a video where, like, I remember watching that the new Shira discovers that she's into some other girl, and it was so awful. Like I can't find it, but you'll have to take my word for it. And when it comes to this thing, I see that JD Vance says turning off payments and forcing verification before taxpayer money flows out the door is one of the most important steps we can take to end the fraud in Minnesota, but there will be many more to come.
Yeah, the problem is that full extent of the law part always seems to be nothing. And then if somebody is guilty, there's some Democratic judge that vacates the conviction.
Oh,
You saw
wow.
that one, right?
I see. Tim Walz is so stupid. I don't know what this guy just, he just, you'd think that a guy would, like, be quiet for once, but nope. So he wrote, "This is Trump's long game. We spend years cracking down on fraudsters. It's a serious issue, but this has been his plan all along. He's politicizing the issue to defund programs that help Minnesotans." But he got ratioed, and maybe 11,000 people liked what he said, but 17,000 had something to say. And I have a feeling now, I guess 55 minutes ago, they're showing that CNN is now showing this.
Oh, finally. I'm sending you a DM of that judge. I'm sure you've seen it. This is one I've seen all over the place, but it's the judge, Sarah West, threw out a unanimous guilty conviction on Abitafa Yusuf, convicted of
Yeah,
7.2
like
million.
that. Let me see.
Yeah, it's in your DMs.
Okay, let me find it. Hold on. None of this surprises me. The question is if any of these people are going to manage to do anything. I always feel like nothing happens to anybody at the end.
Look, she doesn't even look like she's old enough to be a college student, much less a judge.
Yeah, it says, in case you missed it, this nightmare in Minnesota, Judge Sarah West threw out a jury's unanimous guilty verdict on Abifata Yusuf, convicted of fleecing $7.2 million for Medicaid with a company run from a mailbox. He blew it on luxury cars, coach bags, and $80,000 shopping sprees. Under Tim Walz's watch, Minnesota fraud hits $1 billion from Somali schemes. When does this insanity stop? This is from December 3rd. This wasn't even like today, this is already.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's all true. It's all true. And I have no doubt that there's fishy things going on. I hope somebody does something. That's all I can say, I guess. Yeah, the whole idea of saying it's all Trump's fault is so weird. I
Yeah,
mean, it's
this
not
has been going on way before he ever hit the
right
scene.
to try to spin. See, this is the part where, like, at some point there should be a moment where you just say, you know what, I'm going to shut up now. You know what I mean? This guy trying to sort of turn it as like some kind of grand scheme that like Trump tried to target. Dude, they're stealing billions of dollars, and you're the governor of Minnesota. Like, this is the moment where you need to like say something that doesn't make you look like the biggest idiot in the world, and you couldn't pull
Yeah.
it off.
Well,
Like, you know
it's
what I
just
mean?
like blaming the LA wildfires on global warming when LA's had wildfires for hundreds of years. They're not only recurring, they're predictable, and you didn't have the infrastructure ready to fight them. It's such a transparent deflection. But the only reason people buy it is, they've taken sides and they're going to take the side of the Democrats no matter what. And that's crazy because it's your money they're ripping off.
Absolutely. It's really infuriating. Uh, I mean, I'm not going to start showing the whole Nick Shirley thing. I think he did a good job.
Oh, bless his heart. He's doing what the media is supposed to be out there doing when
But
they
what I will
abdicated
say
their
is that
duties.
I did see something interesting that he was he said that he was like, now there were threats on his life or something, which I thought was interesting. Let me see if I can find this
Oh,
thing.
didn't somebody declare a fatwa on him? Like they did an official jihadi thing.
Uh First of all, this is interesting that you see one of these kind of CBS News how they cover this story. Like, completely annoying. Let's see what they do. Let's see if I can share it. Okay, are you ready?
Yes.
According to federal prosecutors, it was really during COVID that fraudsters set up these fake restaurants or sham businesses and health clinics that would provide things like meals to school children or behavioral health services or housing to people with addiction. And because during COVID, you didn't have the same checks and balances, you had social distancing, you couldn't have the site visits, you couldn't have the in-person inspections. Well, the fraudsters got away with it all and provided the receipts and collected boatloads of cash from us, the taxpayers. More than 90 people have been charged in the schemes, mostly Somalis, and more than 60 people have been convicted. Now you have this viral video getting traction online. It's from influencer Nick Shirley, and he visited several daycares, Somali-owned daycares in the Twin Cities, and basically accused them of doing the same thing, running these sham operations where kids didn't show up, but still billed the federal government and collected millions of dollars in Medicaid funds. We visited those sites too, as did state inspectors many times over the last 6 months, and we found the facts on the ground tell a different story. Those daycares, many of them were written up for safety violations, things like maybe busted equipment or staff training issues, but that's not the same as being fraudulent. So it's important to put all of this into context. Granted, fraud is indisputably an issue in Minnesota, and next year it's going to turn up the heat continuously on state officials, including Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, who's running for re-election. And there are 14 programs, Medicaid-funded programs, that are currently under investigation by state and federal government. But childcare is not one of them. Again, this is something we're going to keep following well into next year.
And CBS News, which put this thing, of course, they're like conservative YouTuber. They're not like giving him any credit, like Nick Shirley, that he's doing any kind of journalistic job. But the funny thing is, the guy that they're kind of downplaying as like some kind of conservative quote unquote influencer or whatever they want to call it, he actually showed footage of him going from place to place talking to them where it looks very fishy. This guy didn't go to one place. He's like,
No,
oh,
yeah, they're
we've
lying.
yeah, they're like, we visited so many times. Yeah, where are you? Where's the
Yeah.
footage? Where's the footage of you idiot? Where's the footage of you going to all these places and talking to all these Somalis? This guy, first of all, wouldn't be caught doing that. He probably wouldn't even want to attract that kind of negative attention. How do I put this? It takes balls to go in there to begin with. You know what I mean? I don't see this guy going into that place.
And yeah, if they did visit, it would be, we have an appointment. We're going to be there at 12 o'clock on Friday. Make sure you borrow about 30 kids to put in the room.
Here, this Chris Gore says, no one watches you anymore. Trust broken beyond repair. Pure propaganda, and everybody knows it now. Yeah, I mean, this is just such a joke at this point. Yeah.
Do you think this might be a tipping point where people are getting fed up and have enough, and like the Epstein files, where like they start demanding accountability?
I mean, the thing is that we've seen enough cases where people say stuff, but never underestimate the amount of people that exist that, you know, have completely their head in the sand.
Yeah.
I've met, I'm going to be honest. There's people, and I like these people. It's like even people that I know that I've known for years, and I like them, that are more left leaning, and a lot of the times they're just like they're blinded. You know what I mean? Like they'll believe whatever it is that they're told. Sometimes older people, older generations will just believe whatever CBS tells them. Now, it doesn't work on us. We're already like outside the matrix, if you know what I'm saying. There's a lot of people that are outside the matrix and don't buy any of this, but there is still people that will believe this crap. I'm not saying they all will. I'm not saying the same thing that it was in the past, but keep in mind, not everybody is here. There's some people on Blue Sky that sit around and talk about weird things with each other. You know what I'm saying? They're not all here. A lot of people that didn't want to, be exposed to the truth aren't sitting here. And to be fair, I also have to say this, and I hope it changes, but I will say that over the past maybe half year or so, the X platform went to really, really leaning hard into these type of like I don't even consider them right wing or Republicans or anything. These kind of wannabe MAGA, whatever you want to call them, that present themselves that way, but at the end they're just like causing drama and like, all this drama with each other and bickering and all this shit. Sorry, Sean. I don't really like all of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think that those guys that we see on X a lot, like all this stuff that like pops up in my feed, I think that they do more damage than good. Personally.
Yeah. There's far too much distraction and infighting and just
right. And it's people at the end. Listen, we also know because we do YouTube and we do streams, and we know when to spot people that are basically just trying to do something to get like clicks at any cost. Now, you could say sometimes about my videos, you're like, oh, and especially on my main channel, you can say, well, some of those thumbnails look a little bit clickbaity. Sure, okay, I'll give you that. But if you click on my video, I will say things that I really, I don't just say things like, I don't want to just manipulate people. If I did, I'd probably have more followers. We're talking about people that have millions of followers, and their whole system of making money is the more angry they get these people, the more they tap into like conspiracy theories, the more they do all this stuff, the more they have people that are paying them. And without getting into names, we have some people like that. There's different labels for what people have called them. I personally think that they just give anybody that considers them, any kind of Republican thing, I think they give them all a bad name. Because
we know the big name. I just call her that crazy.
Right, yeah, it doesn't matter. Just and I don't think they're helping anybody, because at the end, it's like the same thing with Twitter, that people are maybe more center, and I consider myself kind of a middle. I always say this, and people may not believe that, but I'm more of like a middle of the road person. People like that, when you see that kind of stuff taking such center stage within the right, you start like it doesn't make you feel great. I mean, I still think it's better than what's happening on the left right now, but I'm just saying that all I'm saying is that it actually, I think, is alienating more than anything else. I don't think it's the big like win that everybody thinks it is, that we have like these kind of very like extreme weirdos that are just like grifting off each other and bickering for drama and clicks. I just don't like it, but that's my personal opinion.
It's like every time there's a crack in the dam, it's an invitation for the lunatics and the fringe to come out, where this really needs to be a time for the reasonable people in the center to galvanize and start to demand some accountability and responsibility from those people. But instead, it's an invitation for the whack jobs to come out and start grifting. And that's not good. That doesn't help anybody. Except
Tex Roger says, if you're middle of the road and left moves far left, you're on the right if you don't change. Yeah, I mean, I understand what happened here. I never I actually would have loved it if things were so great that I didn't even have to take interest in things like this. You know what I mean? When everything is functioning pretty decently, maybe you don't have to worry about politicians and politics and things like that. But at some point, like, because everything that's going on, it's hard to ignore it. But yeah, I understand what you're trying to say. And uh I'm trying to think. Somebody says here, Cornboy199, Nick Shirley was at the roundtable earlier this year with Trump about it. And I bet he was tipped off in this mission. Very possible. Very possible. But I think that he did a good job. And the one thing I can say is that I can't say about this guy. This guy is standing out just in the cold talking. He's like, we visited 1 million people. And then he like disappears. It's like, dude, you're CBS. You're talking about that other guy as he's like some jerk off, like about Nick Shirley. Where are you? Take your crew and go into a fucking place. Go to the Leering Center. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Go to the Leering Center and see what they tell you.
Hopefully, this is one of the guys Barry Weiss is going to fire when she finally brings that insane organization to heel. Either that or she's going to go, because it's not going to it's not going to continue as it is. Something's going to have to give.
I don't get it. I feel like she's. I mean, I don't really understand, but I feel like has she already like settled in. Wouldn't you think that there would be changes by now?
Oh no, well, I mean, there were, and then there was that outright revolt on 60 Minutes where she pulled a segment, and then they went behind her back and leaked it on Canadian television and streaming after she pulled it from 60 Minutes. So I think the rot goes a lot deeper than anyone suspected, and they're really going to have to fire at least half of the people that work at that place. And if she can't do it, she's not going to succeed. Um, I think it's an example of the rot going far deeper.
It's hard.
Than
It's hard to go
anyone-
in. You have
yeah.
to fire everybody. It's difficult. You know what I mean? There's a whole system in place with people that have been working there for years, doing whatever.
Yeah. Well, she's got to be able to. Yeah, and it's not always easy to fire people, but I think if she catches them doing something messed up, I'm sort of interested in seeing what kind of tactics she's going to take. Obviously, all of this happened right around the holidays, so I don't really expect much to happen until the new year. But I'm slightly interested, and I've never been this interested in the news and the meta of how it's like I just want to sit here and talk about crappy movies, man. Like, what the hell? But
I would
you're
want
right.
to talk about good movies, but nobody's giving us that. But that's
yeah,
like
well,
a dream that we'll never get. But what I want to
Yeah.
say here, Tex Rogers says, a friend of the channel says Kennedy was a Democrat, but his actions would put him in the extremist right position these days. That party has moved a long way. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think that it was a very telling sign when RFK and Tulsi, actually crossed the aisle. And I thought that was really a sign that something was happening there. Elon too. I mean,
Yeah, they were all Democrats, but the Clintons went after Kelsey. Like she got in the crosshairs, and she for her own health, she had to leave. You know what I mean?
I mean, basically, the Democrats, thought that they would dispose of these two people, and that'll be the end of it. But they didn't count on the fact that they'll just say, you know what, like, fuck it, we're just gonna go somewhere else. Nick Shirley and that David guy, they're out there with like leering sweaters, which is kind of funny. By the way, the sign itself, today they fixed it, and it says like learning, but they fixed it in the cheapest way possible. Somebody just like pasted a paper that says like learning and not leering.
Yeah, it's not like they have millions of dollars to go get a decent sign made.
It's so that is like the worst that they couldn't even they couldn't even get the.
Well, they know the jig is up, so they're leaving with all of the cash they can get away with.
Let's see. Let's see what this CNN.
Minnesota.
Sure.
So he goes to the facilities. Some of them had already been closed.
Can you hear it?
For some time? Minnesota officials
Yeah.
Can you
say
hear the
that
sound?
each of the facilities
Yeah.
that he visited had been visited at least once in the last 6 months. And so far, they found no evidence of fraud. So shouldn't he have to provide actual evidence of fraud before just walking up to a building and saying fraud is happening here?
Well, who is he? Like, who gave this guy license to go around and say, I couldn't get into daycare centers, the doors were locked? Like, nobody should be able to walk into a daycare center because the doors are locked. These random vigilante justice, something that people in this country know a lot about, these random vigilante justice seekers who ordain themselves like some sort of law enforcement expert, like he's a random YouTuber. And I just find it laughable that the party of the self-proclaimed pro-life people are celebrating cutting off funding to children. The white evangelical crowd who purports to uphold these Christian values are celebrating targeting communities because of their ethnicity and cutting off care to children. It's utterly ridiculous. And I have to say, only a deplorable human being cannot decisively say it is wrong to target this community. We all heard what Donald Trump said from the White House. To pretend that this is some sort of opinion versus this opinion. No, we hear this right now. And so we have to call these things out with outrage, with righteous indignation that this type of thing, one day it's the Somali community,
shut
the next
up,
day
bitch.
it's another community. What is hard about saying this is awful? What is hard about saying we should all care about children?
And it's not just racist and xenophobic.
Where's
it's
that
actually
Scott
dangerous
guy that usually
because
has
what
something to
Donald
say?
Trump is doing
Yeah,
and
Scott
targeting
Jennings. There's
this
no
community, it's
pushback on
putting
her.
American citizens
Where is
in
Scott
danger
Jennings?
because
Like,
it is
why
putting
isn't
a
he here
target on their
speaking
back.
about this?
But there's something else that I think
On
is really
every
disturbing.
show. I
To your
don't know
point
which
about who
segment
this
this
YouTuber is, and that all of a sudden, because he made this video that has gone viral, now DHS and FBI are putting
These women have
resources
no
into
idea
this
how the
community.
world
All of a
works, or
sudden,
they're just
they're
not
listening
like
because
pretending they
they're
don't
The
listening.
understand.
money's not going to the children, bitch.
videos that
Like,
we were
what
showing.
part of that does she
Those
not
are
get?
performative.
Pretending
They're
like they
walking
just
into
found this out.
They're walking into a
there he
deli
is.
and,
There he
and
is.
asking
Yeah,
questions and then
Let's
saying,
see
have a
what
nice day. That's not how you investigate fraud.
correct.
Actually, to the credit of DOJ, they have been investigating fraud. They have been prosecuting people the way that you actually prosecute people, not
even
sending
under
people to
right.
jail.
Even
I wish I could have heard his response. He's not saying anything.
Yeah, is
but-
he not in that video? I'm sure he said something at some point. Now I want to see the full segment.
Yeah, I'm curious. There was something else that I saw him.
But the bullshit coming out of her mouth, everything she was saying was just not true. It's straight up propaganda. That's not news.
There was something. I wish I can find it. Actually,
And he's not a random YouTuber. He is an investigative journalist and an influencer, and he's established his bona fides, man.
let me see if I can find this. Okay, this is what I wanted. Are you with me?
We do want to see people actually be held criminally for what they've committed.
Can you
if
hear
you
it?
stole $10 million, you'd be in jail. If I stole $10 million, I'd be in jail. So therefore, if Tim Walz is accountable for, let's just say, even $1 million of this fraud, whether he has to spend 10 days in a prison cell or however many years a judge finds him guilty for, that's what he should have to do. And same with all the other fraudsters and all the other corrupt politicians who allowed this to happen. It's time to take it serious. And this is such a pivotal moment for the current administration to really show, like, okay, we're holding people accountable for what they've done.
Yeah, like I saw Cash put out a thing on it. They've been looking into this for months. And I guess the thing is this: there's not just the people at the daycare centers or the people taking that check. Where's the money going? Where's the other funding? I mean, this is complicated stuff to track down because you really can't just take out the one daycare center or the 50 or the 100 that are there. You got to see where all this other stuff is going, so you can uncover what is probably a much larger, corruption case than even what you've discovered, which is, again, billions of dollars, in my opinion, probably at least. But it seems like it's going so much further than that. And, it all probably ties back to some sort of Democrat fundraising apparatus where these businesses are then making sure that they're electing the people and the Democrats so they can keep perpetuating these fraudulent policies. And it's just a never ending vicious cycle.
Yeah, it is a never ending vicious cycle. But I think if they do go after the person who's most accountable for this and who has even said that organized crime, he's even admitted to organized crime, and Tim Walz has, before the fraud. So he's known about this fraud for a long time. So if they go after him and then continue to go after everybody else, then you'll see massive change and you'll see real accountability be held.
Yeah, no, it's nuts.
Yeah, so that was interesting. There was something else, about threats that I don't think you mentioned here.
Yeah, and I don't think our audience doesn't need this explained to them, but he's just calling to attention to the matter. He's not claiming anybody should be convicted on his evidence, and they have
Because
been
can you imagine,
investigating.
for years you're at the dinner table talking with your family about how everything's good. Oh, we don't need to worry because the government and whatnot. I mean, 81% of these people are on welfare, but on top of that, they're collecting millions of dollars for these companies, tax exempt, by the way, especially the daycares. So can you imagine how mad they are now? Like that's why they're right now. There's like people are so upset. Like there's like bounties on me here in Minnesota because people are so upset as far as the fraud that's being exposed because they know their time's up and they know everyone's just sick and tired of this happening inside their own state and across America.
What have some of those threats been?
Yeah, there was apparently like a bolo that they used. That's the word that some people told me it was on me, and I can't reveal too much just because I don't want to reveal. But like, yeah, very lots of messages, death threats, obviously on social media, and then it's just not the most safe thing for me to be moving around freely right now.
I think that's fair. I mean,
Yeah, he's not the most articulate guy in the world. He could use a bit of public speaking instruction, but
he's a
good at
23-year-old.
investigating.
He's 23 years old, and you know what? He's doing a good job. I don't think anybody could say that he's not doing a good job.
No, he is the only guy investigating this stuff amongst all of the media. He is a hero. I'm just saying.
So sometimes you need a guy who's young and not polished and just kind of doesn't care about anything, and he's going in there and doing it. You need a guy like that sometimes, and I think that he did something really good. Hopefully, something will be exposed with all of this situation, but we'll see where it goes. By the way, what I will say is that hold on. That sounds like Beardo, but not seriously. In any case, I saw some movies. You know that I saw some movies?
Oh, yeah. Speaking of movies, bad movies, good movies. Have you seen any movies lately, Price?
I have seen movies, and I'm going to find them right now. First of all, let me check to see if there was any more super chats, because I feel like I didn't watch in a minute.
I haven't seen any. I've been looking, so I think we're
Oh,
good.
okay. So that's good.
But yeah, I was waiting to tee up your segue there.
Okay. So what I'll do is this. I'm going to find the first movie I'm going to talk about is Marty Supreme.
That sounds like a burrito I could order at Chipotle.
So let me show you now what's going on Rotten Tomatoes with this thing. Marty Supreme. Do you see it?
Yes, I do. That's
it's Timothy Chalamet, and it's a period piece underdog movie. It's loosely based on a guy that really existed called Marty something else. It's Marty, I don't know, they changed his last name, but the thing is, it's very loose. We've reached a point where now they're just like, well, it's kind of inspired by this guy, but it's yeah, there was a guy called Marty, and he was, he played ping pong, which is what happens in this movie. But whatever happens to this character in this movie, it seems to be all fiction, and it's worth pointing that out. So even if somebody was inspired by the real guy, it's not really a true story. It's at best inspired by true events, not based on true events, not based on a true story. And what happens in this movie is that you have this guy played by Timothy Chalamet called Marty, and he's basically living in the 50s. It's like 1952 or something, and he's supposedly the best ping pong player. But ping pong at that moment in time is not like considered much of a sport or anything. It's kind of very marginal thing. It's not in the mainstream really. It's growing all over the world, especially in Asia and different places, so it's starting to gain recognition, but it's not like the top sport that people actually care about.
Oh, I know why they changed his name. Marty Mauser in the film, but the real life guy's name is Marty Reisman. That sounds a little too much of a certain demographic. I don't think they want to go with.
Well, I mean, I'll put it this way. When you watch the movie, it's not like it's not clear that that's the demographic, meaning
Okay, fair enough.
if you watch the movie and like they tried to pretend that he wasn't from that demographic, I would go with what you're saying. But in fact, they don't do that at all. It's like it's
Okay.
very, very clear and 100% like, what demographic he is. And that's not the reason. The reason why they did it is because of what I said. The reason why they did it is because they didn't want to follow the real story of the real guy, because
Right.
following a guy who's not the real guy gives them the option to do whatever they want rather than telling a story that may be actually true. So they basically took a few characteristics that people said about the original guy, that he's kind of a hustler, the time that he was active, and a few stories of things that happened to him, and loosely were inspired by it. But this movie takes a completely different route. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah, I gotcha. Marty Mauser also has a. It really rolls off the tongue and has a secret identity feel to it.
yeah, it has
Very
like,
catchy.
it's whatever. It's fine. I don't really, care one way or another. But what happens in this movie is basically he's living, in the 1950s. He's not, rich. He works like, I think for his uncle at some shoe store, if I remember. It's already I just saw it today. Marty blocking it out of my mind, but it starts off that he works like at a shoe store, and he works for his uncle, and he wants to go to this ping pong tournament in London, and he wants $700 that he claims his uncle owes him, but his uncle doesn't want to give him the $700, so he stages a robbery where he like steals $700 from his uncle, and then he goes to London and he's in the tournament. Now the
He should have
tournament
just opened a Somali daycare center. I don't see what the problem is.
that would have helped, yeah. So in any case, what he does is he flies to London, and initially he does well in the competition, but at the end of the day, like in the final, it's him against a guy uh, from Japan, I think, and the Japanese guy beats him. Also, in real life, the real Marty didn't go against the Japanese guy. It was somebody from somewhere else, and again, they changed a lot of stuff. That's why, when you say if his name was Marty Reisman, if you would have said that, and then you're doing something that has nothing to do with his life, it causes more issues. Who knows if the guy has an estate too? You're starting to you're causing problems because you're not really going by a real story, and then people can just say, "Well, this is nonsense." So the best thing you could do, Marty Mauser.
Yep.
So in any case, he gets the thing, he loses. In the meantime, in the hotel that he's at, there's this rich guy called like Rockwell, and he has a wife, which is a younger wife, which is Gwyneth Paltrow, but she's significantly older than Timothy Chalamet. But she's like a former movie star, and Timothy Chalamet, on one hand, is like wheeling and dealing with her husband about potentially doing, deals, business deals, things like that, because the guy has a lot of money. And at the same time, he's also like, inviting his wife to his hotel room and like, banging her. All very weird, it's fine.
Yeah, it already sounds like it's going off the rails, but
It's kind of weird to begin with, I don't know why
yeah.
all this was weird. Like, I mean, I'm thinking to myself, your husband is a very powerful guy, and you're at this hotel. You think that you going to like, this suite where this other tennis like ping pong player is there and spending the night there, you think nobody's gonna realize that that's what happened? It seemed odd to me, but whatever, it doesn't matter. He like develops an affair with her, but back in New York where he's based, where he goes afterwards, he loses that big battle, the final thing against the Japanese guy, and he wants a rematch. So his whole point is he wants to go to Tokyo, uh, where they're going to have the next year's tournament, and he wants to like do a rematch with a guy. So he's trying to get money to be able to have the funds to go take the trip there and do all this stuff. And in order to do that, he has all this kind of hustling that he does, and all of his hustles are crappy. Like every single thing that he does ends up causing like more problems. And like the whole movie is just running. He's running from criminals, running from the law, running from this. There's a woman who's pregnant that says that she got him pregnant, and she's married too. She's married and he got her pregnant, and he's like, "Nope, not my baby. I don't know who you are." Like, well, or he doesn't see it. I don't know who you are. It's like, "Not my baby. I'll see you later." And then like he's like trying to use everybody, uses this lady, uses this other guy that drives a cab, uses this, uses that. his family, like, they're all like assholes, and he's trying to use them. It's just, this movie is getting 94%, which is like a Godfather level score. And I saw this movie, and you know what? It doesn't deserve this score. I don't give a shit. All these artsy fartsy people, it does not deserve this score, and I'll tell you why. See, at the end of the movie, and there's a lot of very annoying developments, especially with that husband and the wife and the pregnant woman. Just shit, a bunch of shit that doesn't end. And the movie is 2 hours and a half. It's like nonstop shit, and it's all this kind of ADHD pacing. You know what I mean? There's no room, in my opinion, that the movie breathes, and you really get to, like, absorb what's going on and the character and things like that. It's just like he's running here, he's running there, he's running here, he's running there, and the whole time he's just kind of this arrogant douche. This is another thing. In an underdog story, you gotta like the main character. If you think the main character is pretty much an irredeemable piece of shit, sorry, Sean, then it's really hard by the time he gets to the final battle to really care about what he does one way or another. And that's where I find myself. I'm just kind of like sitting there and thinking, well, I don't really care if he loses this. Like, I don't care about anything. It's all like the way the thing is resolved, especially in the third act and the final, ping pong game or whatever it is. It's done, in my opinion, so poorly and so lackluster. And you don't like this character and you don't give a shit about him, that I was just thinking, why did I sit here 2.5 hours watching this? Like, with all that being said, it's a competently made movie. There's a good cast. It's like a period piece. It's well put together. It cost maybe $60 million to make, so at least they didn't spend hundreds of millions of dollars on it. And, it's not the worst movie I've seen this year. But at the same time, it is nowhere near what it could have been. And I thought of movies like Rocky. Rocky, the thing is that he starts off the movie, he's sort of like a down on his luck, has-been fighter, at the gym, the guy that was his mentor, Mickey, like, thinks nothing of him, disappointed in him that he went and, like, started being an enforcer for some, like, two-bit thug, and he's just going around and trying to get money from people. But you also see that once he's there, he doesn't want to break their thumbs, and he's almost too nice of a guy for that kind of work. And the way that you see him, the way that he lives in such a small apartment, and like he's trying to just do something with his life, and also the way Stallone presents himself as as this character, you see him as more humble and more kind of a nice guy. Maybe not the smartest necessarily, but he has some kind of street smart, but he's not really the smartest guy. And there's something where you just find him very endearing. And by the time you get to the fight at the end versus Apollo Creed, you're all in. You want Rocky to win. You want this guy to have his moment. And in this movie, like, even in the trailer, it's like, you've never seen an underdog movie like this. Yeah, I've never seen it, because this one is shitty. Because if he's an underdog, you have to have moments that you feel like you like him. You know what I mean? If I don't like the guy and I think he's a jerk off, why would I want him to win at the end? So this movie is not a 94. I don't know if I'd fail it. I don't know if I'd give it a failing grade, because, like, at the end of the day, you'll watch it. It's an okay period piece, type of fictional thing. Whatever they're trying to do here, it's okay. But this is not a 94 movie. This is absolute bullshit. The reason why they gave it a 94 is that it's a combination of Timothy Chalamet that they happen to love, and the other thing is there's this guy, Josh Safdie or whatever his name is. There's these two guys, like Benny Safdie and John Safdie, that were like making movies together, two brothers, but now I guess they're making movies apart. So between like this Safdie guy that the mainstream critics love to kiss his ass, and Chalamet, like, they just, like, it doesn't matter. This could have been a movie of like Chalamet taking a dump for 2 hours and they'd still give it a 94. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and remember, this just means 94% of the critics thought it was over 50%. The way Rotten Tomatoes is very deceptive about the way. And I went, while you were reviewing it, I looked and skimmed at some of the reviews. Many of them, even though they're giving it a 3 out of 5 or a 4 out of 5, when you read what they have to say about, they love Chalamet, boy, that's right. You know that. But none of them said very impressive things about the movie, or stuff like, frenetic energy. Just none of it comes across as any of them really liked the movie.
I don't think so. I can't see what they especially liked about it. Like I said, I probably wouldn't fail it, but this is not a 94. 94, I get something like The Godfather. This is not a 94 movie. Like it has no business being in this category. Even the popcorn meter seems fishy to me. They've been very fishy with their numbers, in my humble opinion. 84. I don't know. I mean, I'll give Timothy Chalamet one thing. There's one thing that I'll give him. The ladies like him. You put a movie
Yeah.
with him, there's some ladies that like to be on Instagram and he's dating Kylie, whatever, Kardashians and all that shit. They like that. So they'll give him some, they'll actually, there's young ladies or ladies in general that'll go to the theater. They want to see Timothy Chalamet. Can't take that away from him. I don't think he's the best actor in the world. He's not the worst, but he's not the best either. I don't really see. I'm a man, so I don't know. I need the person to actually be like charismatic and interesting and like put in a performance that's like interesting, even if I'm a man. I don't know exactly why the ladies like him. I can't get into that mindset. I don't really know. He doesn't seem like anything special to me, but the ladies like whatever they like. Can't argue with that. There are ladies that will go see this guy in a movie. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know
Yeah.
why they
Yeah.
wanted. It's true. Like credit where credit is due, I guess. But what I wanted to say is, and I think somebody shared a comment here, is that this movie, another problem that it has is it's trying to be like in the 1950s, but nobody acts like they're in the 1950s. I feel like Timothy Chalamet, he acts and talks as if he's just like a one of those jerk off Gen Z people today. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so do some of the people around him. Like maybe not all of them, but some of them feel like there's a jerk off feel to the whole situation. If you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, like just the summary of the movie, it doesn't interest me. This would be like Rocky. It's all about the execution. And from what you're saying, listen, I don't have anything against Chalamet. He seems to do a competent job, but what I don't understand is, man, these people really love that guy, man. Like he could do no wrong. He could do a 2-hour dog food commercial and they would give it rave reviews. So, but that being said, they still did not seem impressed with the movie. Only him. So, go figure.
Yeah, I don't really know what to tell you. He's probably going to be nominated. They'll give him nominations for Oscars and shit like that. They're already trying to build this hype. I don't see it. I think this movie is like, it's a watchable movie. It's like I said, sometimes there could be a movie that it's not necessarily my cup of tea, but I still look at it and say, well, it had a good cast. The movie works for whatever it is. It's not the best movie, but it's also not the worst movie. That's kind of how I feel about this one. But this is not going to get good grades for me. Nowhere near, not 94, not 84, not even in the conversations. This is not even close. You know what I mean? This is one of those cases, how sometimes I always say that, like, sometimes I always say that under 60, I give it a failing grade. I won't give it under 60, but it's not gonna come out here with like a 94.
Yeah, I feel like you're talking in the 62 to 65 range, maybe even
Something
59.
I have to think about it, but like I would say that like if it's something in the 60s, I think that seems reasonable to me. That's what I think that this movie is worth. I'd have to really sometimes I make notes and I kind of read and try to think about it. Another thing they have is in this movie they kind of play like songs from the 80s, and it's like this is a period piece about the 50s. Why do you keep playing like Tears for Fears? Like he's talking like he's a Gen Z weirdo. You have Tears for Fears in the background, and it's a movie that's happening in 1952, and he's a jerk, and there's nothing likable about him, and you don't care what happens to a stupid match at the end.
Yeah, I
Again,
suspect the real Marty was probably more interesting. Did you know he used to open for the Harlem Globetrotters?
well, in this movie, they actually show this character. It's one of the only things that they stay true to the real character. They actually have them doing. They show it for like 10 seconds, but they show that they're like on tour with the Harlem Globetrotters, and him and this other guy are playing ping pong with like pans or something, and it's some little gimmick they do. They address that maybe in like 1 minute of screen time. It's not like something that they really dwell on, but they do show it. So. I will say that they show it, and I guess they lifted that from the real guy. One of the only things in the movie that they actually do. Again, it takes a minute. There's another thing that happens in this movie that there's some kind of like mobster of sorts or criminal, and he has a dog. And Timothy Chalamet said he would take his dog, but then the dog is gone. And then there's so much just like shit. It just, I don't know if it's full shit, but there's a bunch of shit in this movie. So I'll tell you that.
That old the ping pong syndicate, man. You don't want to mess with those guys.
You don't want to mess with those guys, and it's like
this. Did you? This one definitely sounds like a no go for me. Did you see any other movies?
I did see another movie. Yes.
Wow, you've been very busy.
I have. So yeah, I think I summed up this movie. You guys can see it, and like I said, it's not the worst movie I've seen this year, but this is a '60s movie. It's not a movie that like gets like. It's not even like good. You know what I mean? It's not even, oh, it's kind of good. I didn't even feel that about it. I thought it was like watchable. Somewhat watchable. Somewhat barely watchable, I guess. With like a decent production, I guess. Anyhow, what's Balls of Fury sounds like a Superior Penguin. It is.
Yeah.
It is. What's the other one that I saw? Okay, let me do that. Are you ready?
Yes, I am. Bring it.
So the other one that I saw is David. This is funny. They gave although I don't even trust their verified reviewers or any of this stuff really, but the critics gave it like a 71%, whereas the, popcorn meter gave it a 98%.
Wow, and twice as many audience reviews as the previous movie, by the way.
Interesting. I mean, the thing is that I'll tell you what, I think it was probably better than 71%. Maybe I wouldn't give it a 98%. But what I will say is this. I watched this movie. This is Angel Studios. They did the movie. Full disclosure, initially they invited me to do something where I online watched the movie prior to its release, and I didn't get a chance. But I ended up, because I have like a pass where I can see a lot of movies, I ended up going to see this because I wanted to see what it was like. I actually sat and watched it in the theater, which I prefer to because it's a story that I like. You know what I mean? Sometimes you watch those kind of screeners, it's not the same thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So I saw it in the theater, and yeah, I mean, first of all, it was a very educational experience for me. For starters, it reminded me of the kind of production. I don't think that Disney would necessarily do something about David, but something about the way this production felt. It felt almost like a older school type of like Disney movie from back in the day, from the days that they made good movies. You know what I'm saying? Like the songs are decent. I think that I'm sure that there's animation that you could do that's probably more expensive or more fancy or more whatever. But I think that the voices and the characters and the way they're presented and the way the story here is presented, it works for me.
So it had that classic Disney animation look and feel to it. That alone almost makes it worth go seeing.
It felt like a throwback to like a better era of Disney, just as if they made a movie like this. And I mean it in a good way. And the songs were good, and I thought that the voices were good. And the one thing that really was like an epiphany for me is that the Bible there's a reason, and especially like the Old Testament, there's a reason why that book is probably the most popular book of all time. You can talk about religion, you could talk about the spiritual side, but even if you didn't believe in any of that, and it doesn't matter what religion you come from or what you believe in, I think that the story itself, there's beats in it that have heart. You know what I mean? Unless you're doing one of those kind of weird subversion things where like it's the modern woke whatever, and you're somehow trying to just go out of your way to ruin it, then if you stick to the general beats of this story and you don't mess it up, like you don't go out of your way to just destroy it, there's a way to present this where it has heart. And are you okay?
Yeah.
Sounded like you.
Oh, my monitor just went sort of flop.
Ah, I see. So I guess what I'm saying is that the story itself has heart, and they didn't ruin the story. They didn't come here to do some weird diversive thing. They wanted to actually just, honor the story. Now, I will say that obviously if you actually read the Bible and things like that, there's darker and themes to the story and stuff that, is not going to make it into a more wholesome children's movie. But at the same time, I think that the people that made this movie, they found a decent balance between, keeping the main beats of the story and the heart of it, and at the same time, still making it wholesome and something that a family can take kids to watch. And surprisingly, I will tell you, I mean, I know it's a holiday, so maybe that has part of it, but I sat in a theater and that theater was full watching this thing.
Oh, nice.
Full, and I don't live in some red, red state, whatever you wanna call it. There were people, different backgrounds, different ages, people with their kids, and the theater was full. And all I know is that, they did David, and I think that they did pretty well. They also don't have the same kind of money that those kind of Disney places have to invest in marketing, and yeah, I had a good feeling about it. It's like I wasn't upset about what I saw. Like I said, obviously, you're gonna have to make some compromises when you present a story like this to children and try
Yeah,
to
the
do.
Bible is not a children's book.
No, it's not.
There's
If you
some
really, read into it, there's things there that are very, very dark, and there's things that happen here with, Saul and David and, Jonathan. There's things that, seem a lot more darker when you read the real, the real Bible. But at the same time, I appreciate it. You need something a little more wholesome. You need to be able to tell a version of this story to children where the main idea is that, David was a good guy, and he had faith, and he, came from a good place and wanted to do good things. And I think that this movie really does that. It shows, it focuses on the time of when he was a kid and when he went to Saul to, play music for him on his harp or whatever it is. And then after that, there's the part with Goliath. You have that, and later on, the army and the thing with, also has that, and his path to eventually becoming the king and all that. I thought it was done. Thought it was done in a very respectfully. I I
it
I came into it, it's not that I didn't expect it to be decent. I thought to myself, "Can't really ruin the story, unless they go out of
yeah.
their way to," and I thought it would be okay, but I think that I was even pleasantly surprised. It was a good production, it had a good feeling. I was in a theater filled with people that there was a good vibe of people watching it too.
Yeah, don't say they can't ruin the story. Look what they did to Animal Farm. But one, it's under 2 hours, so it's a little bit long for a kids movie, but it looks like it clocks in at 115 minutes. How were the songs?
They
Since
they were
you are a
fine. They were
musician,
fine,
they're
the
good.
songs. Listen, I'm not Mr. I like music, but I don't love musicals to begin with.
Yeah.
Considering that I'm probably not the target audience, I wasn't overly annoyed by the songs. I thought that they were done pretty tastefully, pretty well, and I didn't feel bad watching it. And the funny thing is that we watch Hollywood today, and there was an irony there that a story from thousands of years ago still resonates and still has that positive effect on people versus what Hollywood is churning out now. And what I liked is that today when you see these Disney movies, they had all the the newer ones, like this kind of cynical, meta, shitty thing that everybody's a cynical jerk off. You know what I'm trying to say? This movie had
Yeah.
none of that because it's not that kind of movie. So the fact that he actually has more integrity and kind of acting heroic, and he has principles and ideals, it's like you needed a book from thousands of years ago for you to sit in the theater and not get dumped on by some shitty thing. You know what I mean? It's just so silly that at the end, a story thousands of years old resonates with people more than whatever these activist writings are doing with Disney these days, which is
Oh,
just a disgrace.
absolutely. And you know what? There was let me see if I can find it here. It's a quick, yeah. Armand White from the National Review. His review of the Marty McFly movie was none of this tells us anything new beyond confirming the insidious, treacherous, bad character traits that the Millennium so far has showcased. And that's how I feel. Like if you have to go back to the Bible to give me a decent character story, and man, I'm not into musicals either. There are very few that I actually liked, but if you can just get me through it without being annoyed, that is a huge compliment for me. So, um, the fact that it seemed to do this for you speaks well to it, because I will tolerate a musical if it gives me a good story and the songs are not, offensive or terrible or cringy. So it sounds like they did a pretty good job with this one.
Yeah, no, I think that this was tastefully done. Caleb Levine says they could ruin the story and let Cynthia Erivo plays Jesus. Well, this one was about David, so they couldn't, if they were
Yeah,
making
they could.
Jesus, but they probably would. I think that they actually,
Yeah.
aren't they making one where she's Jesus? I think they're actually doing that. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
they could have Cynthia Erivo play Abraham or David, or even Goliath. Goliath actually wouldn't be a bad casting if you think about it. Like they scale her up. Think of how terrifying a monster that would be.
And the funny, what the funniest thing is that I watched Marty Supreme, and immediately afterwards, since I was already at the theater, I watched that, and immediately I then watched David. So I watched them back to back, today, and I want to tell you that the David thing was very pleasant after having to put up with Marty Supreme. I enjoyed the David one more.
Yeah, it sounds like it. We have two super chats. Um, we have one from Karate Werewolf and one from the Dead Man.
Hold on one sec. Let me try to find this. Okay. Okay, wants to tell some jokes.
Oh,
It's okay, it's okay. It's just like shit that I say around here. Okay. The Dead Man, $4.99. Thank you so much, The Dead Man. Thank you. Is this movie sponsored by Nick Weiser, where every ticket sale gets you 50% off a Supreme Pizza? Every time. Sorry, you go on.
I can't hear the name without thinking pizza. It's like every time I hear Marty Supreme, visions of black olives and onions go through my head.
I understand. That was the Marty Supreme one? Well, I'll tell you what. Every time you go see the movie, Nick Weiser eats a beefaroni. That's for sure. Nick Weiser loves beefaroni. You can tell him I said that.
Okay, I associate that with jail food or prison food, actually.
Right. I mean, there's like a running joke that I used to do streams with Nick, and I always used to say that he likes to eat beefaroni. He actually does. Like, I don't know if he ever even eats beefaroni, but I said it and it stuck, and then everybody would tell him that he eats beefaroni. So it's kind of funny.
Well, I think the chat knows I have been in jail, and I worked briefly in a woman's prison out in California. And I'll tell you what, we would get these 50-pound bags of beefaroni that would, like, they weren't even like sealed. It was just a burlap sack full of, I guess, the macaroni that failed the quality check at the factory. And we dump them in these huge pots and cook it up. So I can't even think of beefaroni. Like when my kids started, they like stuff like that, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't do it. Like, if you really want some, grow up, commit a crime, go to jail. You have all the beefaroni you want, and then the Nutriloaf, you'll love it.
So Karate Werewolf says Walk Hard is the best musical, and it is a really good musical. Such an underrated movie. I love that movie.
Oh yeah, he's not wrong. That I bought the soundtrack, then I bought it on vinyl. The secret to that is real musicians wrote the songs before they even came up with the movie script, and they're all done in the style of popular musicians from the past. The songs are not only good, but they are brilliant.
And
the fact that
John
they're
C.
satirical.
Reilly gives a tremendous performance, also on the songs.
He's magnificent.
So talented, so underrated, so underrated. Like I consider John C. Reilly, like I respect him a lot more than like Timothy Chalamet. Like I think that like he's a much better actor than him, but What does it matter? The ladies like Timothy Chalamet. I mean, the one thing I'll say is Timothy Chalamet is a hard worker, when it comes to his craft. In the Bob Dylan movie, like, you could tell he worked very hard, but at the same time, he kind of, in all of these things, there's something about him that I never really buy. I didn't really buy him as Bob Dylan. I didn't fully buy him as this, like, maybe being this jerk off that he played in this movie was more along, like, more in his wheelhouse, because I almost feel like the way he acted as this character may be how he acts in real life.
Yeah, I got a Karate World. That's like the best comment of the week. You nailed it. I love that movie. It's funny and brilliant and satirical and
Right, but
the
I also
okay.
want to address this thing Argentum here with the Blues Brothers. That's also, like, I agree. When I think of musicals, when you think of stuff like the Blues Brothers or Walk Hard or things like that, those are really like exceptions. They're not like some annoying show tunes thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
What
don't
were you
even
going to say?
consider those are more like rock operas than musicals. I really don't even consider those musicals when you think about it, but I'm willing to entertain the idea that they could be. There is definitely the top of the heap there. But I consider it more like Tommy, which is a rock opera, which, the music came first and then they built the story around it.
Uh, yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah, Tommy, I've never, like, I watched it once many years ago. I never really got into it. I like the music, but I don't know. Some people love that movie. I'm okay with it. I didn't love it that much, but it's okay. Listen, something like Team America, that would be considered, sort of a musical, I guess. And I like the songs there. Same with, like, South Park, the movie from the 90s.
Yeah.
Like, those songs were great. If there's a purpose to the songs, if they're genuinely funny and they're doing something that's, like, fun, I can get behind that. But most of the time, when there's just, like, somebody coming out and instead of, like, talking, they start singing to each other, it really annoys me. Like, I'll put up with it in a theater. If somebody dragged me to see something on Broadway, which I don't even go to these days, like, I think that when I was younger, I wanted to feel like I was a decent person. It's like, well, this is culture. You're going to the theater and, you like when people are singing and doing this thing. And then one day I woke up and I said, "You know what? I don't really like it that much. Well, fuck them."
I'm I can't whenever I hear Walk Hard, I think of that song that's made to sort of spoof Subterranean Homesick Blues, Royal Jelly. I can't I just start laughing, man. It's such a brilliant
There's
send up.
scenes. There's such good scenes in that movie. There's such good things. Like, I feel like I haven't watched it in a minute. I have to watch it. I haven't watched it in years. But back in the day, I watched it like a number of times, and I really, really liked it. Was into the music, like you said. Really, fascinated by it. So Joker 2 is the worst musical, absolutely. Joker 2 was one of the biggest, like, cinematic disappointments maybe of all time. Such a terrible movie. Like, there's no way that movie will ever recover, and it's one of those cases where if they would have just left the first movie as is, people would have maybe thought of it fondly, but once they made that second movie, they also, like, retroactively destroyed the first one and embarrassed themselves with that second one.
Oh, they did. They did.
So yeah, so that was the dead man asking about the supreme pizza and the beefaroni. Karate Werewolf says, did you do your best and worst of 2025 yet? This is $2 Canadian. Yes, there's a stream on this live channel on Price of Reason Live. There's a stream, and it says there, if you look at it, that it'll there's the best and worst movies of 2025. So there's a stream that I just did the other day with my friend Ro from the Scarif podcast, and we did some stuff, and it was cool. And yeah, you should check that one out. Oh, there's like Karate Werewolf says there's an extra long unrated extended cut of Walk Hard. I don't think I've ever seen the full extended cut. What I did is that over the years there were people that put, like, deleted scenes or extended scenes on on YouTube or things like that, and then I'd be like, "Oh, I don't remember this scene from the movie," and I'd kind of have a chuckle. So I probably have seen parts of it, but I've never in one sitting and watched the whole like, extended thing. I
Yeah,
should do that. I should do that sometime. It's a great movie. It's a great movie. If you're, especially, it's like people like us that we like music. There's a lot to appreciate about that movie in general.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
really good parody.
yeah. It's high quality music, and it's also a send up, but it's also serious and it's also heartfelt. Like you don't see many satires that also really have heart, and it's just so well done. And what's her name? Jenna from The Office. The little girl plays his
Yeah,
sort of
she's great. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And he's singing it. She's actually not singing her part. That's a country singer. I forget her name. You can look her up. But so Jenna, I want to say Elfman. I know it's not Jenna Elfman. She's not singing, but she does a good job of lip syncing. And that song they do together, duet, dude, it had me on the floor. I'm
Yeah,
almost like
that's a Oh, I didn't know
sticky.
it's not her singing. Well, he's singing. It's John
Yeah,
C.
yeah,
Reilly
yeah,
is singing for
yeah.
sure.
It's definitely him, and that's why. Yeah, yeah. I didn't even know, but I think I've seen the extended, but I also listened to the director's commentary. I've seen the making of. And the movie came out of nowhere for me. I didn't even hear much about it. I was actually just talking to some friends and they mentioned they just saw this movie.
It
And I'm like,
looked
that sounds
dumb.
weird. Yeah.
Sometimes it's hard to market movies. I think that, I don't think the marketing for it was very good. And there's two movies that happened, one in whatever year, 2009, I don't know, 9 or whatever year was Walk Hard. That was one movie that came out, and I thought that like it wasn't marketed well, and it ended up being a really good movie. And I don't even think I saw it in the theater. I think I only saw it after the fact. Another
Yeah.
movie that I actually saw, I haven't watched this in several years, but I will say this: there was a movie from the Lonely Island people called Pop Star, and when I saw like the trailer for it in the theater, I looked at it and it said, "This is like the worst movie probably ever made." Never even bothered to go see it. And then one night, a year later or whatever, I was sitting. I don't know. It was one of those streaming things, either one of those HBO, whatever it was. I suddenly watched the movie, expecting zero. My expectations were nothing. I'm not even like a big Andy Samberg fan. Like I'm not a fan of their thing. I'm like I was the person that you'd think would like be totally not on board with the movie. Watched it at night and really had a good laugh. Like I thought to myself,
Oh,
man, this movie, it actually made me laugh. Now, some time has passed. It was very much like making fun of a lot of the pop stuff that was going on at that moment. I feel like a lot of things are like significantly worse now. So I don't know if it would hit as hard as it did at that moment in time. But at that moment when they released that pop star movie, I think that like they basically it's almost like a Justin Bieber type of story
right.
of sorts. Like it's a combination of a few of like Justin Bieber and Macklemore and like a few weird things that they kind of threw together. And I haven't watched it in a minute, but there were things in that movie that really made me laugh.
Well, it's 2016, so it's on the edge of peak woke there, but
It managed to get in there before the peak woke, and Caleb Levine says, "I cannot stand Andy Samberg." I am telling you that I was not a fan. I didn't think much of him. I watched that movie and I thought to myself, you know what? I felt differently about him. It doesn't mean that now I'm going to see all his movies or that I really care. But when I watched that, I said, you know what? The guy, he is capable of doing something funny. Probably the highlight of Andy Samberg's career is Pop Star.
I'm well, on your recommendation alone, I think it's worth checking out. I'll definitely give it. I'll definitely give it a watch.
Guilty as charged is a banger for sure. I agree
Yeah,
with you.
but
And
even though Dewey Cox didn't do good, it has achieved massive cult status, right up there with The Big Lebowski, man.
see, what happened is that at the time there was like in those years that there was this guy called Macklemore that we barely hear from him. He was like a white rapper, and he had like half a song that people listened to, and then I think he went out and started saying like, I'm not gay, but like if I was gay, I want like I don't know what he kept on saying. Like he was trying to say that he's like supports like the rights of gay people, but he himself isn't gay. And they have a song in the movie which really, really, touches upon that. And I think the song is funny. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Um, vaguely, yeah. I'm trying to think back on it,
Let me
but
see if I can find it. Let me see if I can find it. Uh Let's see if I can find this.
While you're looking, Lawyers says musicals have songs carrying the plotline dialogue. The Blues Brothers is not a musical, and like I said, man, I agree with you. I'm, I found Brooklyn Nine-Nine pretty funny for a few seasons. I'm not a huge Sandberg fan, but he's made me laugh. So, I'm willing to check it out. Listen, I trust your recommendations enough. You've not steered me wrong. So I'm willing to take the risk and go, put 2.5 hours at risk to check out something you say is funny.
Let me try to share this. Hopefully, I mean, I think it'll be okay. I'll try to, maybe I'll clip it later. Are you ready? This is him, like the part that he like does the, the LG kind of thing.
Yeah, it sounds fun. It was sounding funny when you described it. Okay, here we go.
Okay, I want to show it to you. And again, keep in mind, I agree. I didn't like Andy Samberg. I don't really watch much of his, but like, I can't take away that this movie, it made me laugh. So I'll show you this part.
Got a hot new single coming and addresses some social issues that I think are being ignored. So
Can you
keep
hear
your
it?
eyes peeled for that. We're going to be surprised releasing it next Thursday at noon. And that's it.
Girls all straight, and while I made love to every one of them, I was thinking about the world, hot wings. True love trumps all.
He's writing this song for gay marriage. Like it's not allowed. It's allowed now.
I don't like to read reviews, but I'm just excited. Like I can't wait. I want to know how people feel about it, and I want to know how much they love it. So here we go.
What do you see?
Well, it's Pitchfork. They gave it a negative review.
They didn't like it?
No, like it's a -4 out of 10. Positive 10, I assume. Pitchfork can be kind of pretentious though, so oh, what? You're gonna knock my hustle. Let's look at another one. Let's pull it up. Rolling Stone. Okay. Out of 4 possible stars, Rolling Stone has given it the emoji. I can only assume it's a mess up, They must have had a problem with their no, this seems like the right score for how they're saying this. You know what? Let's just do a search.
This is like after he releases it and nobody likes it. Like, it's kind of funny.
Here we go.
The video sold me. That was hilarious.
Conquest a Triumph. That's a good one. Let me read it. This is on The Onion. So, mixed. Let's call it mixed reviews.
Okay,
yeah.
I'll definitely check that. Dude, the music video was hilarious. His little thing with the computer, a little bit cringy, but yeah, and Argentum that was Pink. I think it's definitely worth checking out for sure.
That's the thing, that they actually brought Pink in there for this thing. Like
And Ringo, for fuck's sake.
and Ringo. That's what I'm telling you, that like I expected nothing from this movie, and then I just saw it and I'm like, man, okay, this guy's kind of cracking me up. Like the thing of him sitting and looking at the reviews is that he has like this big ego and he thinks he's like this big star, but he's like always like he kind of looks like an idiot. And there's something funny about it. Like within the context of the movie, him like doing that song, thinking that he's like a social activist guy, and then seeing all the bad reviews, totally in line with the silly atmosphere of the movie.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the music video was was brilliant. Like as it progresses, the frequency, not gay, not gay, not gay. Like,
I feel like today he couldn't even make that song. You know what I mean? Probably they couldn't even make that movie now. If they made it now, people would get upset. It like you said, 2016. I feel like that was with the buzzer, the last moment that somebody could still make a movie like this.
yeah, probably. That's sort of I've seen some crap come in around 2010, 2011, but really 2015, 16, that's the hard line. That's the fence. That's when it
Bush
all
McFadden
went
says
bad.
the whole movie is mostly that cringy, uncomfortable stuff from what I remember. You know, I think that, like, if you watch it with an open mind, and I just saw it some night, I had no skin in the game. I actually am not a fan of Sandberg. I just kind of begrudgingly, maybe it was the only thing that was on. I watched it really, really, like, with a negative vibe, just even, why am I even watching this? And the first few minutes, I'm like, oh, this is so, like you said, like, cringe and stupid and whatever. But then they just kind of got me hooked on it. And then I sat there, and there are funny things that happen in this movie. I haven't watched it in a minute, but I remember genuinely sitting, and not only that, I sat and I watched and I laughed. And in order for, like, me to be sure, I invited, like, a friend of mine who, we used to play together in a band. So, he's also a musician. And we sat, like, maybe a month later or whatever it was, he was visiting, and I just said, "What do you think of this movie?" And I put it on, and he was laughing. Like, it again, I wasn't crazy. I wasn't crazy. The thing was pretty darn funny.
Well,
So,
I'm definitely going to be checking that one out.
yeah. And then, the movie didn't do well in the theater. I can't blame him. The commercials looked so bad. I don't think that they really, I don't know if there was a way to market what they were doing here in a better way, but whatever the commercials were, it didn't help. Also, like I said, Andy Samberg didn't really sell it for me in the trailer and all that. But the movie itself, probably Andy Samberg's best work. If I had to put, like, a column of something that he's done that I can't say that he's not good in my opinion, this movie is good in it. It gives him some, like, credit or some points from me that he didn't have before. Because Brooklyn Nine-Nine, whatever, yeah,
It was
whatever.
an ensemble, and the funniest parts about that show were not him.
We're not him,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
It was watchable, but I also didn't sit around and, like, it's not can't miss TV for me. I watched a bit of it in the earlier seasons, kind of lost interest. But whatever. And, some of his Lonely Island stuff, like, I take it or leave it. Once in a while, there would be something I would chuckle. Sometimes it was just shitty stuff. But this is the one thing where, like, everything kind of came together in a really decent way. And as like, maybe it's also because I'm into music and I actually did some work within the industry. So a lot of the stuff he was laughing about, I really, really got the humor. And I thought that it was pretty well done, and it was one of the only cases where I saw that he's making fun of people, and in some cases inviting them, and sort of like, they kind of look kind of silly too. I think he brought in, like, Adam Levine for something that would, like, kind of pokes fun at him. I
oh,
think
if
that, like,
there's anyone worth making fun of, it's that douchebag.
right, and then you had, like, Pink that, like, the funny thing about Pink is that she would most likely, if there was a song about these kind of rights, would love to be on it, and the fact that he made this, like, thing that he's, like, taking a dump on this exact song, called her in to be in it, and she was in it, have to say that it's kind of funny. You can say whatever you want. Even, like, the minimum of points, like, I have nothing. I don't listen to Pink. I don't like her music. That's regardless of her activism. I think so little of her. But you know what? If I had to give her half a point on something, the fact that she showed up for this thing,
Yeah.
it's like the minimum. It's the only time she's been something of a good sport about anything in her life, I think.
Yeah, but I suspect she doesn't really know or can't really distinguish satire or if they're taking the piss. So,
I wonder
for
if
all
she
I
even
know,
understood. I don't know if she understood even what she was doing
yeah,
there, but yeah.
for all I know, she was standing up for gay rights in that video. Like,
Right,
was
exactly.
bringing it hardcore.
So, yeah, and it all went back to that Macklemore guy that I think that's who started it, that he's, like, talking about, like, equal rights and whatever, and, like, they're like he was like a guy that he was there for a minute. He really didn't have a lot to offer, so very quickly he jumped on all these bandwagons to try to make him seem like he's some kind of activist with, like, ideals or something. Nobody even remembers that guy. You know what song he had? He had, like, it was Macklemore and another guy. Macklemore and can't even Macklemore and DJ crap. What's the DJ's name?
Oh,
Macklemore,
DJ Khalid or
Macklemore. Oh, Macklemore and Ryan Lewis.
oh, okay.
Sorry, it wasn't a DJ, but the DJ was called Ryan Lewis. So we had, like, a few songs. I feel like, I haven't heard from him in a while. There was that where do we go now? Where na 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 then the ceiling can hold you. You know what song I'm talking about?
Yeah, but it's not my like. This isn't the kind of stuff I listen.
It is unbearable. It was a song. It was one of those situations that I heard it, and I thought to myself, "This is such a miserable song. I hope I never hear it again." And then the whole summer they played it. That's happened to me a number of times where I hear something, and there's a part of me that wishes that I won't hear it again, and then can't get rid of it.
God, I'm just
So
looking at pictures of those dudes. Like it's just like douche, super douche, double douche bat. Like, oh my god, who are these? Yeah. I'm gonna be. I would listen to it just long enough to figure out how to turn it off. Like,
let me see. Yeah, it's like it's very annoying. Let me see if I can see it. They want it to be kind of like badass or whatever it is, but how seriously can I take like a rapper that like this is what he looks like? Are you ready?
yep.
So this is Macklemore. This is like an article from 2013. Macklemore and Ryan Lewis dominated Spotify this year with their shitty song. Like he's the most like vanilla hip hop like thing. People were making fun of him.
Yeah, I couldn't see this and not make fun of him, dude. This is that guy.
And then this is
What?
him like at an award ceremony. This is what he looked like at an award. Are you ready? This is them at award ceremonies.
Yeah. See, that's
So at least one of the people that Andy Samberg makes fun of in his movie, one of the people is this guy. I feel like it's a combination of this guy, of like Justin Bieber, and maybe a few other people. But those two like are really, I could tell that there's references to them.
yeah. I can see that. Like, okay, you can change the slide now, man. This is it's hurting my
You've had
eyes.
enough. This is Macklemore and Ryan Lewis.
Oh my god.
Peace, yo.
I'm gonna have to listen to Alice in Chains for an hour after this stream just to recover.
Hey,
Or maybe
Vex. I'm
on the
so
Dewey Cox.
surprised you're even awake at this hour.
I'll put on the Dewey Cox soundtrack. That'll be a good thing to saunter off to bed to.
What'd you say?
I'll put on the Dewey Cox soundtrack. That'll be a great thing to go off to sleep with.
Oh, that's definitely a good thing. By the way, I don't know how to tell people the thing where I tell people goodbye.
Yeah.
How do I find people?
Well, let's see. I've got the list. Are we not gonna do Landman? It looks like you had a little stinger on there.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, quickly I'll tell you. Landman. So I've been watching this season of Landman, and I'll tell you the truth, I'm kind of disappointed. It's like the first season had a lot going for it. There was suspense. There was this like cartel. He was doing his oil thing. There was a lot more suspense. Like it was more interesting. Whereas like this season feels like they rushed him. They said, "Listen, we got to get another season out there. We don't care what you got to do. Make it some like annoying soap opera, whatever you got to do. Just make sure there's episodes." And like he churned them out like one after the other. And he did do a quick turnaround. Think that like a year ago, on the day, like in November, whatever it is, the Landman premiered, and a year later, exactly a year later, season 2 premiered, which is very rare in streaming these days. I have a feeling that probably Taylor Sheridan would have preferred to wait another year, but they probably told him, "Nope, you got to do this now. This is hot. You got to strike the iron while it's hot. We need another season." But when you take a guy and you just like pressure him to do another season quickly, I think that that's what happens. That's the result at the end. And have you been watching Landman?
Oh yeah, it's still my favorite show. I feel like this season there's some pacing issues and maybe filler episodes, which would be the kind of things you would see if they had a 22 episode season. But also maybe there's still a lot going on. I'm still enjoying it, but I know exactly what you mean. The initial setup of the gears that are in motion, it's almost like they've forgotten about a lot of that. I think it's really going to depend on these last 3 episodes. If they really bring it and tie everything together, I think the overall score for the season will be very good. But if they leave some of that stuff on the table and they focus more on the, relationship stuff, I will be a little disappointed. There are all the pieces in place, so it's going to depend. All that being said, man, it's still the best show out there. I can't think of anything else I'd rather watch, and I still really am enjoying the episodes. But these last two, I felt are a little bit slow. The pace
It just felt
it's
like a
sort of
bunch
like,
of filler, man. They
yeah,
felt like
yeah,
they
yeah.
just were stupid and didn't do anything. Like, listen, it's fine. I don't have anything against the son and his girlfriend and all this other shit. But the truth is, this show should really like have at its heart of it, like Billy Bob Thornton's character. I think that Andy Garcia, I like the actor, and there's something interesting that could be done. I want to see more of what these two guys are going to do together. Demi Moore is a good actress. I think that that trio should be where the energy is focused. All
Yeah,
these other characters, they're good for being like side characters. I feel like this season I've been seeing too much of them. I
yeah. I
like
don't want to.
them, but I don't need to see them as much.
Yeah, I don't want to see. I want to see Rebecca, but not in a relationship. I want to see her tearing the shit out of a boardroom full of corporate douchebags. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, I don't really need that story with her and the Australian
Not
driller
at
drilling
all.
her and all that,
Not
and the
at
guy
all.
trying to sign the paper. It was just all a bunch of like, it's fine, but I really feel like the first season, it still felt like there were bigger stakes because of the cartel, because of the work he was doing in the thing. They had more of the oil, more of him being like a boss man. There was more something going on, which this season, I feel like a lot of times on shows when they're in a hurry and they don't have enough like time to think of a story and to really lay it out and plan it, and they're being rushed, a lot of times what they do is writers, and it could be anybody, they lean into the emotional stuff, they lean into the more soap opera
Yeah,
stuff.
the relationship stuff, and man, I want to see Billy Bob chewing up the scenery. I can't agree more. And there is a lot going on with the oil stuff, and now they're in bed with the cartels. There's big financial issues. Like I'm hoping they're really going to bring more of that. But you might be right.
7 episodes until now, and they've just been going like treading water. It's like, yeah, we get it. There's financial whatever. Do something already. It just has felt so
Yeah,
fillery.
and
Like there were scenes I didn't mind. There was this scene I don't mind, that scene, but I feel like they've gone full on soapy on me, and it's starting to annoy me. Now, again, there's worse shows than this. It's not the worst show on TV, but not by a long shot. I'm still going to watch it, and even this season ends, probably going to give it a chance for season 3. But I'm saying, like, if something doesn't kind of pick up a bit, especially let's see what happens in these next 3 episodes, at some point it's not going to be able to sustain my interest long term if it doesn't kind of ride that wave. I feel like this show has so much potential to be better than it is, and I hope that we get that potential at some point.
yeah, I even tweeted after the last episode, like, I've had enough of Ainsley and Angela. I don't need to see Angela lose her shit one more time. And think about how season 1 opened. He's in a dungeon with a bag on his head, and they shoot a guy, and then compare it to what's going on. I'm hoping this is all the calm before the shitstorm, but we'll have to see. But you're right, man. If they let me down at the end of this, I don't know. The offerings are slim, so I'd probably still watch it next year. But I can't help but admit I'm a little disappointed too,
This
and I
season is
want to love this.
Macklemore. That's
Yeah,
what NMNM is.
yeah, yeah. I know.
Pluribus 98%. I saw Pluribus and I thought that the finale for Pluribus was rather disappointing. Uh, I like the show and I like the idea there, but I really needed this season to end like in a way that's kind of uh, more exciting than it did. It seemed to think like you could tell that they thought they were doing something very special in the finale. But I just felt like, it at best could have been the episode before the finale.
Yeah,
Meaning, do you get what I mean?
yeah. I thought, like, okay, at least stuff's happening. This should have been the pace you've been keeping through the whole show instead of waiting to the last episode. Like, we would be much further down the line. Man, the show is just, it doesn't move along well enough. I'm interested in the ideas. I mean, she's had months and she's done nothing. That guy within 24 hours with the radio kind of figures out a way to stop them. I'm like, what's, we needed much less. Plus, man, I do not like Carol. She is a selfish, despicable, self-centered, irritating, and I want to see more of Manusos, or however you say his name, man. That guy is the interesting one now. The show's been focusing on the wrong person this whole time.
Well, we'll see what happens. They're definitely, the last episode had some interesting things, but I still felt that it ended in like a very lackluster way. In any
Yeah,
case,
oh yeah. Very, very. Like I said, it's enough of an idea, and it's well enough made to keep me engaged. But if I have to wait 2 or 3 years, like I'm going to be gone by the time season 2 comes out.
yeah, I understand.
Now I do have the call out lists.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure. You said, how do you do it? Like,
No, you can call. You can call out.
Okay.
Do whatever you got to do.
Well, we like to recognize our viewers here. So over on the Rumble side, we have Phantom Monk, Citizen 42, the ever present and welcome Elizabeth Quince. Let's see there, and then we'll get down. It's been just there's me. I guess I don't really need to call it me. There's Loyish, Double R Star. And it looks like it's I know we had some people coming in later. Hold on. There's Elizabeth again, and Loyish, and Cowgirl 12345. Welcome. I don't recognize that name. So welcome. Good to see you, Cowgirl. And I think that about covers it and then Vex Electronica, I think, shows up near there. Oh, Rowdy Dowdy. Hello, Rowdy. And that about wraps it up for the Rumble side.
Rumble side, yeah.
And over on YouTube, we have Void King 4824, the ever present Dead Man. Argentum. Adam Gray, Ejecta Curtain, Karate Werewolf, The Real Head Case, Tomahawk 511, Yidhus, Caleb Levine, Marla Sharondoff. Hello, Marla. Yidhus, Eggs Beatty. So far, all familiar names here. Mooley Porchers. That's a new one. Boosh McFadden. Argentum, I think, got her. Let's see. We got Caleb. There's Adam. Massgrave 00. If I don't recognize the name, I'll read out the numbers. But the names we recognize from the before time, I know what the names are, so I just say that. And there's Vex. Hey, Vex Electronica, calling me a furry, and Tomahawk 511. I think I got you. That's it for the YouTube side.
All right, great. So we did our thing. This was a great show. I want to thank you, Estephobos, for sitting in for the professor who's traveling, and always fun hanging out with you and with everybody here in the chat. And yeah, it's great. And thank you for the people that gave the super chats. We always love that kind of support. The Dead Man, Karate Werewolf, Real Head Case. Very thankful for what you've done. I think those were our super chat people.
Yeah.
Hopefully I didn't forget anybody. If I did, I apologize. But thank you for everybody. We always enjoy doing this, and it's been another great stream. I had a lot of fun. And yeah, Estephobos, do you have anything to plug before we go?
Oh, no, not really. I'll wish everyone a happy new year. Thanks for having me on, man. It's always a pleasure to be on the stream with you. And I'm usually up. It just depends. I occasionally I might have something I need to do, but my sleep schedule has always been kind of weird. And I just love this community here. There's lots of crossover from another community I'm very fond of. And, you're such a regular part of my week, the chat, you guys, Professor and Price. Like, I wouldn't know what to do if you guys weren't around. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, I think you find stuff to do. You always do, but I appreciate it anyways.
Yeah, I would go and watch women's rugby and become weirdly aroused. That's usually what.
You'd watch movies with Timothy Chalamet.
Um, yeah, that's gonna be a tough one. I am gonna try to catch Begonia and Durandar, which are possibly the two best movies of the year, neither of which I've seen.
Haven't seen either of them. Where do you find them?
I'm not sure yet. I think one of them's playing in my area. Vex mentioned at least Begonia, and she says it's the best movie that she's seen all year. So
I have to go see that then.
Oh, I see Badfoot. I don't know if we called out Badfoot.
Oh,
So
sorry. Hey, Badfoot. Nice to see you.
might have just gotten here. So yeah, there was such a dearth of good movies this year. If there's some good ones out there I missed, I definitely want to catch them. I mean, I can catch them in 2026. That's fine, but I do want to see them.
Thank you, Loyish. Thank you to everybody. So yeah, I'll have to check those movies out too. And yeah, I guess we'll see you guys here on Thursday. Every Tuesday and Thursday, 11:45 p.m.
We
Bye.
will see you next year.
Next year. Bye.